Hey,
Day.
Birthday. Where are you? Because we're in the stage of the week anniversaries, the month anniversaries of the baby boy being born. Where are you with? There's people that birthday, first week birthday or whatever.
No. Now, look, the milestones of a young child's life.
Celebrate them.
Great.
Absolutely, right?
It's just not called a birthday.
Right. Like,
it's his 1 week birthday. No, it's not.
It's, I guess.
It's a 1 week milestone.
Yeah,
he's
milestone.
1 month old. He's 6 months old. His birthday, any birthday, especially for a baby, any birthday, we've gotten away from this. Because we're Western cultures now, right? Modern medicine. The first birthday has become all about like the smash cake.
Yeah.
You put this chubby little creature in front of a cake with only their diaper on, and you let them smash
ham.
it. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a wonderful tradition, and it's fun, and it's cute. Nothing better, all right?
Yeah.
We
are not anti-smash cake here on the Sean O'Connell
Show. Very pro-smash cake. But like in more third world places and in developing countries, the first birthday is like a mighty celebration of God's goodness, because that first year is dangerous.
Yeah.
You're fragile in that first year. And if you make it there, your chances are better for the rest of your life. So let's keep blowing out the first birthday, but you don't need to call a month or 6 months or 7 months
their birthday.
It's a milestone, and that's what the doctors call it too.
Made me cringe a little bit as my wife's been showing me the TikTok videos she's watching and people doing that. I'm like, I mean, you have to celebrate those things.
Yeah.
And you should feel like you want to celebrate those things, but like the term, like maybe let's come up with something else.
It's a semantics argument.
Works. Yeah,
it's a semantics argument.
Which it usually is with me, as you've come to find out.
Yes,
so.
Which is totally fine. There's nothing. Let's get hung up on it. All right, it's the English language. There's all these little nuances to it. But birth month, no, it's a birthday.
It's a birthday,
and you can blow out your birthday as big as you want. Like
if your birthday falls on a weekend, you can celebrate all weekend if you want.
Sure,
too.
I guess. Like, if it's more convenient for your friends and family to celebrate your birthday on, a Saturday when your birthday was actually on Wednesday, then you get two birthdays.
You get 2 birthdays,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
But what you don't need to do is be like, "Hi, Instagram followers. Here's what you need to know. It's my birth month." We don't care.
I want all of you to pay tribute to me every day this month. By the way, speaking of baby milestones, tomorrow's the 1 month milestone for
That's
Owen.
Awesome.
Hi, Owen, if you're listening.
Owen, if you're
I don't
listening,
know if my wife turns on the show.
Owen, if you're listening and you have full understanding of the show, that we have some big decisions to make in start, bench, cut, and we want your opinion. So
put on the right now very oversized onesie that OC got you. Utah football onesie that OC got you that will hopefully fit at some point during football season.
It'll fit.
Maybe next football season.
It'll fit at some point, and it'll only fit for 2 months, and then he'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
That is the...
Put that on and help us with start, bench, cut.
That is both the joy and the pain of baby clothes, is you're just like, oh, this is the cutest thing ever. And they have 6 weeks of wearing it, and then...
He's just now, we're noticing the preemie clothes starting to get tight, which we're excited about.
So then he's going to be in the newborn.
Yeah.
All right. Then the 0 to 3. And look, you're a large man. So if he starts to pack it on,
you're right.
If he starts taking after the genetic blueprint that you have installed, he's going to end up being like,
So, I'm sorry about my blueprint.
he's going to, well, that's something you and him can work out when he's a teenager in therapy. All right. Like, sorry, son. This is all I had to give you. I'm going to have to do that for my daughters, too. I'm sorry that you look like me instead of like your beautiful mother. That's like I was watching Wimbledon yesterday, and they showed Beyonce and Jay-Z's daughter was like sitting front row. She looks like Jay-Z.
Oh.
Now,
that's too
I know
bad.
nothing. Like I hopefully she's intelligent, talented, wonderful, sweet person. It's just sometimes you roll the dice and you don't get the victory when it comes to luck. any woman on the planet would be like, I'd rather have the Beyonce genetics
than the Jay-Z.
Than the Jay-Z.
Than the Jays.
But it is what it is,
Yeah.
So, anyway, we've gotten very far afield.
Yes, we
This
have.
is a sports talk radio show, and we're going to have Gordy Chiesa in studio. We're going to talk a little BYU quarterback situation with Ron Weaver over on our sister station, sibling station, I think we decided to call it. So we're going to have some fun today. And I was listening on the way in. We were playing national program. We were doing the Scott Mitchell show. They were having a really great discussion that I already had in my notes. Like, Damian Lillard is in a really, really unique situation as an NBA player right now. I guess, Kevin Durant was in this situation, wasn't he? After
he was a free agent after he tore his Achilles in 2019 finals and ended up signing with the Nets and took his gap year, right? His rehab year, and then finally was able to get back, and that was the year that his foot was a little too long, and I believe no, that was the year before that. Anyway, he ended up doing that. So, yeah, he was in a similar situation. The difference here is Lillard is probably going to be in a situation, they talked about this, where he's probably going to sign a vet minimum.
Yeah, so
KD signed market value deal.
The thing with the Damian Lillard situation is it really is based on his preference. Any team in the league is going to want him and will be able to make room for him because of that vet minimum thing, because he's still getting paid for the next 5 years by the Milwaukee Bucks. So he's taken care of. And by the way, he's already made enough money. So we'll get into that discussion about Damian Lillard's ability to really almost singular choice, almost a singular unique situation and that we haven't seen in the NBA.
And this is the time where he shocks the world and says, I want to be a Utah Jazz man this bad.
Here's the thing. If you're Danny Ainge, you're like, you have 1 year, right? If you're Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge and Ryan Smith, because Dame's not playing next year in any meaningful way.
No.
This is the gap
year.
At
most, he's going to, the earliest he'll be back is probably the playoffs, and Jazz aren't going to be in the playoffs next year. So it doesn't matter if he somehow signs with the Jazz, shocks the world, shocks us even, well, us a little less. He's not playing at all next year.
You say, right? You say, Dame, we're going to sign you. And you don't even have to show up. You don't have to come to any games.
Stay in Portland, go to Miami, whatever you want to do.
You go wherever you want to go, be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want to do.
Go find yourself in Europe, whatever you want to do.
Go do an Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat.
To a year-long darkness
retreat. In the 2026-2027 season, we are going to have something that you want to be a part of. All right? That's your pitch. And
you tell him, we promise you Ace Bailey's going to be all NBA by that season.
And we've been assured by the NBA that the draft lottery will be rigged so we get A.J. DeBonsa.
Yes.
So you've got Lowry, you've got Walker, you've got Ace Bailey, you've got A.J. DeBonsa, you've got Damian Lillard, and that right there is a team that probably loses in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. But in any case, we'll talk about that on the show. The start bench cuts today are I decided to throw in one that I knew was going to be tough for people. All right. We're doing cold summer treats. All right. Start bench cut, James. Ice cream cone, snow cone, Otter Pop.
Starting ice cream, because you always start ice cream. That's how any time of year I will start ice cream.
Okay, so ice cream is it's not as seasonal of a treat as it probably should be.
Yeah.
We should probably leave it to the
places like Europe and probably many other places in the world outside the United States, it is only when it's warm outside you eat ice cream. When I served my mission in Hungary, as I've mentioned before, they're very superstitious about the cold to the point where if AC's blowing on you too directly for too long, even in the hot summer, they might get concerned you're going to get sick soon.
Well,
because of the cold. So
we do in the United States is we put on a jacket when it's cold outside. We just put on a jacket so we can eat ice cream.
Right, and we eat ice cream all year round. We do not have the superstitions that places like Hungary have about about eating cold treats when it's cold.
But
out.
what I'm talking about is the summertime ice cream cone where you have about 60 seconds to make sure that that thing is not running down your arm.
While you're outside eating it, yes.
Because you're sitting at a picnic table, you're in a folding chair, and somebody walks up to you. You're 11 years old again. Somebody walks up to you, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever, walks up and just goes, look at this bad boy. Maybe it's the hard scoop. Maybe it's that swirl, swirl, swirl that you're just like defies physics.
Yeah,
make sure you hold it straight up. Make sure you hold it straight up because
the outrageously large iceberg ice cream cone.
Because if you let it tip, then that thing's going.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you got to eat it fast. So summertime ice cream cone. Start, bench, cut, ice cream, snow cone, Otter Pop.
I'm still starting the ice cream cone, even though I can see why some people might not because of the mess. I'm still starting it because I start ice cream all the time. I will bench, snow cone, and cut Otter Pop.
You're cutting Otter Pops.
Otter Pops are great. This is like the tough Utah football greats cuts we've had to make. I don't love that I have to cut Otter Pop, but I like those other two better.
All right. And by the way, I might take some heat for this. I used Otter Pop as the term. It's the Otter Pop. It's kind of like chapstick,
right?
Or Kleenex. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever brand you like of it.
I actually don't like the Otter Pop brand as much as I like the generic $3 for a bag of 100 at Smith's brand.
Yeah, and the Otter Pops don't have the giant thick ones either, right? They're usually the smaller ones. So you have the whatever brand it is, maybe it's the generic ones that you can get like giant of the same popsicle. And
don't even get me started on the flavor variation.
Yeah.
The purple Otter Pop, ugh.
Well, you're not a grape flavor guy.
I hate artificial grape.
Yeah.
Right? But then
that's typically what the purple is the grape
you
flavor.
Get the pink, which I guess is supposed to be strawberry. You get the red, which is maybe cherry or fruit punch. You don't really know. It's just sweet and delightful.
The blue raspberry.
Every once in a while, you want to mix it up. You grab that green, which is this horrifically artificial lime flavor, and yet it speaks to your soul. Yeah. All right? So they're tough.
So good. I hate cutting it, but I enjoy a snow cone, particularly a shaved ice snow cone, not the thicker pellet ice snow cones. The really thin shaved ice ones. And then you can get ice cream with those. As you know, that's the Hawaiian way of eating it, right?
Dude, if you're doing the real Hawaiian shave ice way, when you can go get the beans and you get the ice cream and whatever else. But we have now, there's so many great snow shacks, so many great, what's that one called? Hokulua or whatever?
Hokulia, I think.
There's all these great ones. In Utah, you go to any Smith's parking lot, you go to any Costco parking lot, and now you can get the sweetened condensed milk on there. You can get the coconut cream toppers. You can get the actual ice cream at the bottom. You get, it is nonstop. It is endless. And that is very summer-esque. Like ice cream, you can go do ice cream whenever. That Snow Shack, that trailer that the guy in your neighborhood, it's like his side hustle. He's not parking that out there in November. That's a summertime thing. And if you're like me, I grew up in an era where you were expected when you were, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old to kind of like start having your own little summer gig, mowing some lawns or whatever. I have so many great nostalgic memories of people I knew, friends, the cute girl in class that you wanted to impress. They were the ones working the Snow Shack. So you'd get on your bike and you'd ride over there. That's a hard experience to beat.
Yeah. You may be convincing me to switch my order, start the snow cone, because it is really only in the summer.
It's quintessential.
You can get ice cream
summer,
other
James.
times, but I'm still cutting Otter Pops.
Okay. All right. 877-353-0700. Start, bench, cut, the cold summertime treats. And we've got some really good responses so far. This one from 7946. Start Otter Pops, bench snow cones, cut ice cream. Cutting ice cream is a wild decision to have to make in your life.
Yeah.
But there's a good reason that you could do that. Now to the football one, the Utah football one. I wanted
the less important one.
The less important one here on your home of the Utes. Start, bench, cut Utah football running backs from the Pac-12 era, the Power 5 era. And, James, the list changed last night.
Oh.
I thought I was going to try to throw everyone a curveball and throw Tavion Thomas and his singular incredible season. I thought, you know what, I'm going to put that on there.
Yeah.
But after I saw what people did with Brant Keithy, so many people cut Brant Keithy because of the injuries and the inconsistencies. There's no way people were going to keep Tavion Thomas. It's too easy to say, thanks for the great season, but you effectively chose to leave this team, and your mistakes were easily avoidable, and so no one was going to start or bench Tavion Thomas. He was going to get cut.
What's wild about that is that they still won the Pac-12 championship in his final year, even with all the off-the-field stuff getting in the way for Tavion Thomas. He only had, 2 games that year, and one was an incredible game against Stanford, I believe, at the senior night. And it made everyone believe again. But it's just wild knowing that the guy who broke your record the year before and was such a huge reason why you had that turnaround after the rough non-conference to win the Pac-12, that you still won the next year. Crazy looking.
Pretty incredible.
Back at that.
Single season touchdown record setter and record holder, Tavion Thomas. I had to leave him off. And that means that you get Zach Moss, Devontae Booker, and the Wolfman, John White IV. 877-353-0700. Start one, bench one, cut one at Real OC Sports as well. You got to start, bench, cut Zach Moss, Devontae Booker, John White IV. Just for context here.
Yeah.
Zach Moss, all-time rushing leader in school history. 4 years, 4,000 yards. All right? John White, 2011 and 2012, 2,560 yards. Both of those seasons went over 1,000 yards. Devontae Booker, in 2 years, 2,773, 2014, 2015. Again, more than 1,000 yards in each of those seasons. So you have to think, all right, I'm start benching and cutting. That means this is for a year. Which of these guys is going to maximize my single year? Zach Moss, consistent, stalwart, steady, but maybe not quite as explosive, maybe not quite as high of an upside. He didn't have the monster back-to-back years the same way these other two guys did. So I don't want to lead any witnesses here, James, but start, bench, cut, Zach Moss, Devontae Booker, and John White IV.
I'm starting Zach. You also got to remember he got to 4,000 yards, even though he missed the last 3 games, including the Pac-12 championship game in 2018 and the bowl game after tearing his ACL. So
2019, he had 1,400 yards.
Yeah,
in 15 touchdowns rushing, another 2 touchdowns receiving. You're talking about 2018, where he missed the final 4 games of the season. 3 games and then missed the bowl game. 2018 was obviously a huge bummer for Utah, but still had 1,000.
Still got over 1,000 yards. But anyway, 4 more games, he's probably close to 4,500 career rushing yards. So even though those other two, the other 2 guys, Booker and the Wolfman, had a lot more yards per season in their first 2, Moss left some yards on the table too. So anyway, I'll start Zach Moss.
Okay.
The career rushing touchdowns leader too, right? Along with rushing yards, Zach Moss. So I'm starting him. I'm going to bench Devontae Booker.
Okay.
And then, regrettably, I'm cutting the Wolfman because he was outstanding for the Utes too in the Pac-12 era. This is another really tough one where no one deserves to be cut, but since you have to, I'm going to have to cut the Wolfman.
The Wolfman and Zach Moss share the runner-up spot in single-season rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Tavion Thomas, 21 in 2021. In 2011, John White IV had 15. Zach Moss had the same number in 2019. So, look, you can't go right and you can't go wrong with any of these because no matter what, you have to cut an all-time great.
Absolutely.
You have to bench an all-time great, but you're getting to start an all-time great. And the answers have been all over the place with this one. Start, bench, cut. John White IV, Zach Moss, Devontae Booker. Got Ute Outsider says start Moss, bench Booker, cut Wolfman. So he's on board with you. Ponch says start Booker. Great runner all around, great receiver. He's the prototypical running back everyone is using. Bench the Wolfman. Everything Booker has, but smaller and faster. Cut Moss.
Wow.
Don't like to, but already have Booker. Don't need two of them.
Wow.
And Red Kingdom did the same thing. Start Booker, bench Wolfman, cut Zach Moss. You know how insane it is to be cutting the all-time rushing touchdowns leader and the all-time rushing yards leader?
And the number 2 single-season touchdown guy, like, wow. Like, I agree with you. It seems like it's a no right answer, no wrong answer thing, but I think there's one wrong answer, and that's to cut Zach Moss. I think you have to cut either Booker or Wolfman. I just do.
Morgan says start Book, cut Wolfman, bench Moss.
See, that's acceptable too, even though I think that's just a titch blasphemous. That's much better than cutting the guy.
Squeaky Steph, this one is hard. Start all 3 players. You can't cheat.
Did you see the one? I caught one of the comments. They said I will not participate, and I think he said start Moss and have a 2-man bench of Booker and Wolfman, or maybe it was some other variation.
Yes, it was. I will not participate. Start Moss, bench Book, second bench Wolfman.
Second bench. I love the second bench.
Second bench Juan Blanco.
honorable mention bench Tavion Thomas.
By the way, John White IV listens to our show.
Yeah, he's local now, right?
Yeah, I think he's working with the team. If I'm not mistaken.
Wolfman. We love you, Wolfman.
We love the Wolfman.
If you want to call in and air your grievance, it's not. I mean, today's kind of Friday.
Yeah,
should we do air your grievances on this Wednesday?
Why not? We can't let people carry grievances into 4th of July weekend.
We should probably let people know the plan for the rest of the week, OC. So this will be the last live show. Tomorrow we will have a best of your first year, as Bill reminded both of us that it's your year anniversary of starting the show. Technically, your first show, I believe, was it the 15th or the 8th?
I think it was the 7th.
Was it the 7th? So we're not quite at your year anniversary of your first show, but the year of when Bill left and you officially took over.
Bill was celebrating the anniversary of when he stopped doing the show.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking
about.
But
you were officially, we'd started announcing the show about a year ago. So we're going to do best of your first year.
Okay, great.
Tomorrow.
Good luck finding anything good.
We'll probably have the great first interview of the Rising Report where he tells that great BYU story.
Love that.
Of the reason why he has disdain for BYU outside of being a Utah great.
Yes. And
we'll certainly have some Gordy Chiesa segments in there. And I think I really like the Jeff Triplett interview, the referee one we did.
That was really good.
I think we might squeeze him in there in that one, and we'll see whatever
some kind
else.
of Weddle in there.
Yeah, we'll get some Weddle. So best of your first year, that'll be tomorrow, and then of course the 4th is the holiday, and ESPN has a MLB doubleheader, so you'll get to listen to that on the station on Friday as you're out and about celebrating the 4th.
So we got a lot of people cheating on this start bench cut, which I knew would happen because we're talking about all-time beloved players in this program. I can't bring myself to cut any of them, but hot take, I might start John White IV, super underrated.
Okay. That is a bit of hot take.
Look, one thing that you have to account for is Zach Moss played on, I think, the most talented Utah football team ever.
2019.
That team underperformed. That team should have won a Pac-12 championship. That team should have beat Texas. That team should have.
And maybe should have been in the playoff, depending on where the committee would have put.
Not maybe.
Oklahoma and Baylor.
Not maybe.
Those other two teams were in the running is all I'm saying.
If you beat Oregon in that Pac-12 championship game,
yeah.
It's not a maybe, James. You're in. And
I just remember it being the Big 12 champ having a similar argument. So I would not have been surprised if the committee had picked them over that. Even though I'm with you. The
way the rankings were,
Utah was ahead of them.
Where
right?
Oregon and Utah were, it was like you would have had to say, well, the Big 12 champ blew out their opponent in the Big 12 championship game.
The old 2014 Ohio State corollary where they just destroyed Wisconsin.
It would have had to have been that situation. So that Utah team will be, for me, forever the ultimate what-if season.
Yeah.
Like, what if everyone hadn't gotten hurt at the end? And what if everyone hadn't underestimated the physicality of Oregon? One of the biggest coaching mistakes that has ever been made at the University of Utah was not getting that team mentally prepared. And I know you can only do so much as a coach to get a team mentally prepared for what Oregon's offensive line was. Oregon's offensive line that year had Penei Sewell, a young Penei Sewell, freshman Penei Sewell, right? And 4 seniors, one of whom, Calvin Throckmorton, who had started like every game of his career. They were, and this was a Utah team. It was Lecky Fotu. It was John Penasini, right? I was on Sports Saturday that year trying to get a nickname for that defensive line going because it was like that was an all-time great defensive line. In the Pac-12, all-time great Pac-12 defensive line, not just Utah. Like that was such a stacked line. And so Zach Moss is a phenomenal player in Utah football history. The teams around him were better than the teams that John White IV played on.
And even Booker played for one really good team in particular that almost did what the 2018-19 Utes team did, but that 2019 team was even better than that team.
And you talk about the quarterback play that you get to benefit from or compensate for as a running back, depending on the situation you're in. So this hot take from Marcus is at least room for a little food for thought conversation, because the production that John White IV had on a team that did not have a Tyler Huntley, did not have a Cam Rising, did not have as well-rounded of an offense.
Was that Jordan Wynn quarterback for one of those years at least? Maybe both?
Wynn
11 and 12?
That was Jordan Wynn, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then Wynn also got hurt at one point in at least one of those seasons. So whoever else was starting games for him in that time. Yeah, they definitely
like a John Hayes backup situation.
Yeah, definitely not near as good as the situation Zach Moss had, or even Devontae Booker had. To be fair,
6641 says start Booker, bench Zach, cut the Wolfman. 7946 start Moss, bench Booker, give Wolfman a red shirt. That's
no one wants to actually cut this guy, and I didn't want to either, but that's the game. Call us the Wolfman, 877-353-0700.
Start Moss, bench John White IV, cut Booker. Wolfman was the whole offense that year. I mean, man, this is why start, bench, cut. When you get down to these great positions and these great players, it gets really, really difficult, because you could make a case for all. I'm probably with you a little bit, James, though, that it's hard to build a case why you should cut the all-time touchdowns and all-time rushing yards leader.
Like, I think that's the only thing that's the wrong answer, cutting Zach Moss. Whatever other variation you have, like, if you don't start him, that's fine, but you can't cut him.
Porter, I know you're listening. Text Zach and tell him to come on the show.
Yeah,
we'll give him the We'll give him the phone numbers of all the people who cut him, and then he could FaceTime them and ask them to explain. It'll be a great segment. We'll put it on our YouTube channel.
I don't know why you cut me. Do you want to explain why?
Who used to do this? Was this like a Jimmy Kimmel skit that they used to do?
Mean tweets? Is that what you're thinking of when they'd read the...
Well, no, but where they would have, like... Somebody did this where they would have somebody... like stand on the street corner and say something mean about an athlete, or say something. They did it with Nick Diaz, the UFC fighter, one time. They'd be like, what do you think of Nick Diaz? Oh, they'd ask Conor McGregor fans because there was a rivalry there. Oh, he's worthless. He sucks. Well, whatever. And then they would have him waiting behind a curtain. I'd be like, oh, well, would you say that to his face? Yeah, I'd say it to his face. They're like, great, here's your opportunity.
It's perfect to do it with a fighter, too, because it's like, yeah, I'd say it to his face as long as he's not in your face. And you go, wait a second, he's here?
Yeah.
I actually take it all back.
It's like, hello. What do you think of Shaq? Isn't it pathetic Shaq didn't hit any of those free throws? Yeah, what a loser. If I was being paid
not even a Hall
money,
of Famer,
I would have hit every one of those free throws. Then they have Shaq right there, and he's just like, what the heck, man? We could do that with start, bench, cut, James.
We could.
Man on the street. Anyway, great responses. Start, bench, cut. Zach Moss, Devontae Booker, John White IV, your Pac-12, Power 5, Power 4 era running backs at the University of Utah. And again, much like yesterday when I talked about the pre-power era of running backs, there's really like 5 or 6 guys you could put on this list. Mekhi Bernard at least deserves a little bit of a nod. Tavion Thomas, love him or hate him, was crucial to this team and at a very, very important time, and it set the single season. I mean, he had arguably the most significant single season for any Utah running back ever. So we could really get deep on this one. But we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk with Gordy Chiesa, NBA free agency, a big decision to be made for Damian Lillard, and, of course, how Ace Bailey and company are getting started with the Utah Jazz. Sean O'Connell Show on a Wednesday, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. We welcome in Gordy Chiesa right here in studio with us and remind all of you, Maroon 5 is coming to the Delta Center October 25th. They're giving away tickets on the drive every day this week, so make sure you tune in for Spence Checketts after this show is over. Tickets are also on sale at ESPN700sports.com. You can find the details and the link. Maroon 5. Gordy's a big Maroon 5 fan.
Yes, I am. Oh, absolutely.
A great band.
Very much, yes.
Easy listen. Fun to tune in. It's one of those, they're not high ceiling, but they're not low floor. They're just right there in the middle for me.
Very much. Now, they have some great songs. But he's a basketball fan also, Adam Levine.
Okay.
The main singer.
The cousin of Zach Levine. No, not really. Not actually cousins there. All right, Gordy. It's summertime. It's hot. It means ice cream, snow cones. It means Otter Pops. All right. Start one, bench one, cut one. Ice cream, Otter Pop, snow cone.
I would cut snow cone.
You're cutting the snow cones.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Which one are you starting? You starting the ice cream?
Or ice cream, yeah.
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 You and James. Great minds think alike.
That's dangerous. That's for sure. James and I, it's dangerous that we think alike.
I've been starting ice cream way too often is the problem. So I got to start cutting all of those, but that's a different conversation. Also, summertime means summer league basketball. These young guys getting opportunities to gel a little bit as rosters, to show their coaches, general managers, team presidents, owners what they can do. When you are, we'll get to the Jazz specifically here in just a second, but in general, what are you looking for in summer league basketball?
That they're young players in the summer league, that they're learning how to play at a fast pace. It's the first time in their life they're playing with a 24-second clock with referees, and it's a big difference in college basketball and the physicality, even in summer league. And just generally speaking, getting used to the rules of the NBA and the fast pace of both offense and defense. If you're a point guard in the summer league, your world changes every 24 seconds. There's nothing like it. There's no other position in sports. I know in the NFL, quarterback, it's absolutely the most position you need the most. But you're in a huddle. A point guard in basketball, you go offense, defense, defense, offense every 24 seconds, and also some of your trusted allies on perimeter. So, again, the speed of the game, the physicality, and understanding the rules.
So, for this Utah Jazz franchise, like everyone is in sort of a different spot around the NBA with what they've done this offseason, and this Utah Jazz team appears to be making decisions where they're offloading veteran talent, they're moving guys around that we thought were helpful in adding wins last year. They're subtracting some of those guys from the roster, which means another year of losing, another year of learning for this Utah Jazz franchise, most likely. But you want to make sure that learning is emphasized, that it's not just a bunch of young, talented individuals wallowing around in the misery of a tanking season. So starting in summer league with Ace Bailey and company, how does this Utah Jazz team make sure they build a foundation that, 2 or 3 years from now is winning basketball?
Well, the way to ensure it is that have accountability. So Ace Bailey, he'll turn 19 years old in August, he's got to learn how to play both offense and defense. And you and I talked about this many times already the last year or so, is that the Jazz are less in the NBA on defense. And so the new guys on this roster, or guys they're going to try to acquire, is that they've got to be able to implement the defensive schemes with accountability. And the best way to do it is from day one, is that if someone misses assignments consistently, I don't mean just make one mistake, then you got to correct it. And so Ace Bailey would be the first guy they're going to try to correct as far as in a good way. I mean, an upbeat as far as correction, and also with all the other guys on the roster, including example, the Jazz roster right now in summer league is going to be Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Bryce Sensabaugh, Cody Williams, and Jaden Springer, and Elijah Harkness, who played with the G League, and then Ace Bailey, Walt Clayton Jr., and John John, the 53rd pick of the draft. I just forgot his name for 1 second.
John Tonje.
Tonje, excuse me. Thank you, Tonje. And so those are the guys who are going to play on the Jazz roster team right now. Again, accountability, offensively and defensively, and just knowing how to play. So it's a high stakes game. Even though it's summer league, it's really important.
When you're talking about molding these young players into what you want them to be as NBA guys, I mean, there's leadership on a team is important. When you're a mostly young roster, a little bit harder to find. And when you're in the summer league, they kind of have to establish the pecking order amongst themselves, right? Because you don't have the seasoned veteran. LeBron's not running out there for a game in summer league. He's obviously going to be the example you follow. You just rattled off a bunch of second-year guys for the Utah Jazz. Which of those individuals should step into the lead and say, all right, young bucks, this is how it's going to go?
Isaiah Collier.
Okay.
Should be the guy. Yes, absolutely. You know, it's also, I left out purposely Taylor Hendricks. So he's not on the roster.
What's his health status?
Yeah, the answer is I went through the roster again and yesterday to make sure that it's accurate and that he's not on the listed the roster playing here in Summer League. He was the 9th pick of the draft. Let's not forget now. 9th pick of the draft back in 2023. He's still rehabbing from a fractured right fibula and dislocated right ankle. So this is his 3rd season. So I'm assuming that he's not going to play in Summer League, maybe not even in Vegas Summer League, and that he'll go to training camp in late September and start ready to play then. So it's interesting. So which means then that Ace Bailey will get a lot more playing time, and that so will Cody Williams, and so will Kyle Filipowski. So the Jazz are a bunch of young players, and you want to see the growth, though. And again, the ability to as always, Sean, in any sport, how can I showcase my individual talent within the team game? That's the essence questions that the players have to answer, and it's done philosophically, but it's done by action on the court and in practice.
Gordy Chase is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking a little Summer League basketball. I guess extending that last question about the leadership situation, Ace Bailey is the guy you've invested the most in this particular draft, right? You took him with the highest pick. There was all that rumor and innuendo and maybe some issues there. We'll get to that here in a second. But he's the guy that you got to pour the most resources into, including attention. On the opposite side of that equation, he's got to make the decision to improve himself, to ready himself, whatever. If you're the advisor to Ace Bailey, who are you saying on this Jazz roster, on this Jazz team, in this Jazz building, you whisper in Ace Bailey's ear, you say, follow that guy, do what that guy says, do what that guy does? Is there some person on this roster that Ace should be attaching himself to?
Yes, Larry Markkinen. Should be. Yeah, absolutely, he should be. Larry Markkinen would be the guy that you want to play like, because he's a one-time All-Star. He's a very good player, and he's going to be your teammate on the floor. I mean, I can see the Jazz playing next season, both these guys together, easily together, because Larry Markkinen, he gives the Jazz a versatility. So again, with Ace Bailey, just picture right now a young Colt. Right? He's bouncy. He's dynamic. He's 6'9", 210 pounds of high hips, almost like a string bean. But he's got unbelievable natural talent, and he's gifted with ball skills. So he has to, once he gets stronger, and that will take a X amount of years, that he'll be a major force because the guy can play. He's an instant bucket getter in the game. They're both at Rutgers, will be in Summer League, and also hopefully in the NBA as far as relatively soon.
As far as the behind-the-scenes stuff, how concerted is the effort from a team, from a coaching staff, from the player personnel department? When you hear something or you see something or in the draft process, there's an uncle or a dad or a whoever that's like, you know what, that's not the place for you. We don't want you here. You got to convince not only the player, but probably the people around the player that Salt Lake City's right for you, or Memphis or Orlando or wherever. But whose job is it? Because if you're a head coach, you got bigger fish to fry, I would imagine. Where does that effort come from in this Utah Jazz organization in kind of smoothing out the bumpy start?
From head coach and from Austin Ainge.
Okay.
Oh, very much. They're going to, if not already, they've sat down, talked to him about about drafting him in good faith, and that now it's time to act professional. And being professional isn't just only during practice; it's being 24/7 each day. Is that you're a professional athlete right now, and there's no more high school and AU basketball and at Rutgers University for 1 year. This is the pros now, and you're expected to do certain things. And of course, sometimes you're going to fell short, which is perfectly normal when you're that young. But you've got to act professional. I lived there, Sean, for 36 years now. And so I know I'm an older guy, to say the least. But Utah is a wonderful place to live. As I always tell young people this all the time, when I coach for 35 years, is that Salt Lake City, instead of having 25 nightclubs like in New York or L.A. or in Atlanta, they'll have 7 nightclubs, but they're all good. And so whatever it is for you, there's just a slightly smaller version of it, but it's still what? It's still what? Good for any young people to have an active social life and also learn about being professional. So really, I think it's an advantage being in Salt Lake City, being in San Antonio, being in a small market, because you can focus in on your craft versus all the time being with the fellas all the time, going out to the extreme of the extreme of the extreme, where suddenly you don't play as well.
Well, I think also, as we talk about this, it's important to give credit to Ace, because whether he didn't like the pick or not, the stuff you're actually getting from Ace Bailey is him saying he's excited, smiling for the cameras. Like, I know that there are preferences probably for every single player. And when all this stuff was coming out, Ace Bailey in the pre-draft process is trying to tank interviews or refusing to show up for workouts or whatever else, the blame, right or wrong, and I think right, gets deflected and assigned to somebody else, the people behind the scenes for him. And even if Ace is ultimately saying, like, hey, man, I really don't want to go there, he's at least aware enough to not have those words come out of his mouth, to alienate a fan base, to be the guy that is on face value looking appreciative of the fact that even the Utah Jazz, if they were his last choice, he still has looked appreciative himself that the Utah Jazz drafted him. And I think he should get some credit for that, because it wouldn't be an easy thing to do if you really didn't want to be here. Smiling for the cameras would not be an easy thing for me to do, but he's at least aware enough to not alienate this fan base.
Very much, absolutely, because the fans are the NBA. And you're a young fellow, you want to do is understand what it takes to be professional. And just think about it. The 2 guys that left the Jazz just recently, one was traded to the Charlotte Hornets, and the other one was bought out by the Jazz. Both those guys in Jazz basketball, the fans like them. And that just shows you how, meaning Colin Sexton and also Jordan Clarkson. And so those guys would be the visualization of fans really embracing them. And most fans I talked to, Sean, the last 2 days or so, they're really saddened that both those guys aren't here, because they're excellent players, and they gave it all for Jazz basketball. How about like Colin Sexton, for example? That guy was fiery. That guy played so hard. He can make baskets. He could score 20 points in the second half of a Jazz game, and he did many times during his career with the Jazz. And then Jordan Clarkson, that guy, he played tremendous for the Jazz. He was here for 6 years, and he gave it his all, every minute of the day. And with Jordan Clarkson, I'll make a point about this, is that the Jazz bought him out. His contract, Sean, was $14.2 million. There was a buyout, and then the Knicks signed him for 1 year, which is a 10-year veteran contract, they call it. Became to $3.6 million. So Clarkson next year will play roughly with $17 million on the contract. Jordan Clarkson, he was the ultimate, I call, flamethrower. That he could score the basketball. In his 6-year career with the Jazz, he averaged 17.5 points per game. He played 28.2 minutes. He shot from the field 42.8. He was voted the 6th Man of the Year back in 2021. And with his trusted sidekick, Joe Ingles was the runner-up. So Jordan Clarkson, all the Jazz fans wish him well to go to New York.
How is that going to work out for him from a competitive standpoint? Obviously, the East is wide open. They've got to decide on who his coach is going to be in New York City. He's going to win more games in New York than he did in Utah, certainly. But is that team a contender next year, especially with him playing an important role?
Yes, they are. They're a contender. the Knicks, again, for me, it's hard to explain why they moved on from the coach. Because Tom Thibodeau, he's almost like a Bill Belichick personality, and I say that a compliment, where the players that want to win absolutely respect him. The players that want to win but with the least path of existence probably don't like him. So he took his team to the playoffs 4 to 5 years, and a deep run this year. They lost to the Indiana Pacers in a hard-fought game, 4-2. So Jordan Clarkson goes to Knickerbockers. They'll still win 50 games no matter who the coach is, and that he'll be a instant offense off the bench, and he'll electrify the Garden, meaning what, with his performance right now. So I'm glad for him. He went to a team that he's going to play a whole bunch of minutes, and the Knicks are a good team.
All right, we got lots of personnel movement to talk about. We got to do our best, my best, to stay on clock here. So we'll take a quick one. Gordy's hanging out with us for the hour in studio. Gordy Chiesa comes back with us on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. James, we're just coming up on our 1-year anniversary of the Sean O'Connell Show, but this might be my last show. Gordy just offered me a buyout, like an NBA-level buyout. He says I can get the same buyout as Damian Lillard. if I'm willing to recuse myself from the show.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess good luck sitting on your pile of money.
For $23 million a year for the next 5 years.
I'd quit too if I got that buyout unrelated to the job I had.
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Live night events. We've got the 2025 Granary Live Concert Series going on, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Outdoor concerts right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at the Granary District. Details are available at ESPN700sports.com. You can also find the on-demand section at ESPN700sports.com. So if you missed the early part of this conversation with Gordy, our opening conversation, on-demand section has all the sound from all the shows. Go check it out. Find us also wherever you get your podcasts. Gordy, during the break, that was obviously all tongue-in-cheek, but during the break we were talking about some of the contracts. You know, NBA free agency's open, and these individuals opting into player options, getting extended. Jakob Poeltl yesterday signed the largest contract ever for a former Ute. Over $100 million for Jakob Poeltl on a 4-year extension. Love to see that for that young man. But we were talking about sort of the price of just being an NBA player right now, just like a basic starter. You're talking about with this new collective bargaining agreement, with the revenue sharing that continues to go up. Never mind the Supermax deal that was just signed by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming off an MVP season. That guy's getting $70+ million average annual value per year. But just your rank and file guy, Gordy, is now worth $25 million plus.
That's correct. Absolutely. So now the way the rules are, just generally speaking, there's always 1 or 2 outliers. But if you're a good starting player in the NBA, your contract will read roughly minimum $20 million to $25 million to start. And then if you're a better player, almost like an all-star or a guy on a winning team, you're getting roughly 28 to 30 million as your starting contract. So in Jazz basketball, that'd be Walker Kessler. He's eligible for the extension right now until the first game this season. And then Walker Kessler probably was going to demand, in a good way, and I say demand as far as his contract will be roughly, we'll say, Sean, $30 million times 4 years, $120 million. And so that's the going rate right now with the new bargaining agreement. Sean's alluding to right now that we're glad that he came to his senses, doesn't want to leave ESPN 700 as far as his, meaning Sean O'Connell. So we talked about, Sean and I just a second ago, about Dame Lillard and that how crazy it is as far as different buyout situations and stuff. And so the Milwaukee Bucks recently, meaning a day ago, they bought out Dame Lillard for his contract was $112.6 million, and so they let him go. And now they stretch it out for the next 5 years. On the Milwaukee Bucks books, going to be $22.5 million on the books. Now we know with Dame Lillard, former Weber State great, that he's a tremendous player heading to the Hall of Fame. He suffered an injury back on April 27th this year with a left Achilles tear, and he's in a rehab. So he gets the buyout. He's home without a team. I thought about, Sean, what teams could sign him either now or by next trading deadline. Who can sign him?
Well, I want to take a break again because we're at the top of the hour. I want Gordy to tell us where Damian Lillard should end up because it's a very, very unique situation where effectively Milwaukee's footing some of the bill, which means you can get him at a supreme discount. He's not going to play for you next year, which means the year after that, are you in championship contention with a guy like Damian Lillard on your roster? I mean, one of the beloved all-time best college basketball players from our home state is in a unique situation as an NBA free agent, and Gordy Chiesa is going to tell you where he should end up. Also, it looks like the Knicks have decided who their next coach will be. We'll tell you who that is next on the Sean O'Connell Show. Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. All right. Where is Damian Lillard going to end up? The former Weber State star is a free agent. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to pick up the tab for the next 5 years. Which team will benefit most from that? Gordy's going to tell us maybe some options here in a second. But the breaking news right now is that the New York Knickerbockers are going to hire Mike Brown as their next coach. Multiple sources, ESPN's reporting this, kind of narrowed in on this yesterday. Tony Jones, when he joined us on the show, said that's eventually what was going to happen. And Mike Brown, 2-time Coach of the Year in the NBA, looks like he'll be the next head man for the New York Knicks.
Good choice. Mike Brown is a excellent coach. He's helped the teams win that he's been the helm of. For example, when he coached Sacramento Kings, they'd made the playoffs in almost 20 years. When he got there, he brought them to the playoffs. And then they moved on from him because there was a higher level expectation once he brought him there. He's a former head coach of the L.A. Lakers, and now he's going to be the head coach of the New York Knicks. What he brings to them is a guy that's an experienced head coach, an element of discipline, and he's somewhat a different personality than the former coach, being Tom Thibodeau. So there's a level of more engagement between him and the players, which is both good and bad. The good part about it is that the players will be able to go to him a little bit more and be part of the a solution of them trying to get better versus the former coach, meaning Tom Thibodeau, he was a little bit more rigid. The fact of the matter is, though, is that you have to win. So I don't care what kind of personality you are, that Tom Thibodeau did a good job there. He led the Knickerbockers to their best season in 25 years as far as the playoff run, and now Mike Brown inherits that. He has a good team. So the question is, Sean, can he sustain it defensively and also get more creative offensively?
All right, so Mike Brown expected to become officially the New York Knicks head coach. As Gordy said, he's already coached the Lakers. James, are you ready for a trivia question? I'm going to direct it at you first because I know Gordy's going to get it easily.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hit me with it.
How many coaches in NBA history have coached both the Knicks and the Lakers?
Oh.
We're talking about the two biggest markets.
Well, Mike D'Antoni has.
Head coach of both the Knicks and the Lakers.
So there's at least one. Is that the only one?
No.
There's a bunch of others? Okay. That's the only one I can think of is Mike D'Antoni.
Gordy?
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
Oh, Pat Riley, of course. Yeah.
That's right.
What about the Lakers and the Celtics?
So there's only those two, though, for Knicks and Lakers?
Well, actually, Google says only one.
Well, D'Antoni, I guess Google forgot that D'Antoni coached the Lakers in 2013 and coached Melo's Knicks in 2011. But anyway.
No, you're right. I mean, obviously,
right.
D'Antoni's been on the bench for both of those teams.
But it was a very short time for D'Antoni on both cases. Pat Riley, of course, spent
91 to 95 with the Knicks and 81 to 90 with the Lakers. So,
but Celtics, Lakers. I don't think I know.
And
that
look,
one.
maybe I don't trust Google anymore because they got the first question wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know the answer to that one?
Lakers and the Celtics.
You got to go back.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to go back yesteryear. All right, let me see. Just quickly.
Did Sharman coach the Celtics?
Yeah, Bill Sharman. Yeah,
Bill Sharman.
Okay.
Wow, James.
Yeah, Bill
this
Sharman.
Man this is 20 years before you were born.
Sharman. I know Sharman coached the '72 Lakers. That team, that first championship in L.A. for them. I did not remember that he coached the Celtics. There you go.
But Bill Sharman, he played for the Celtics, Sean, and did he actually coach the Celtics? I would say I don't remember him coaching the Celtics. I remember Casey Jones coached the Celtics.
What about Frank Vogel? Did he?
Yeah, Frank Vogel. Good point.
Vogel coached the Celtics, though?
He was an assistant.
An assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a random aside.
Those are good. Those are good stumping trivia questions.
Fun little trivia question. Because at the end of the day, you're in rarefied air if you've coached multiple NBA franchises. Period. If you've coached those two NBA franchises, if you're standing there next to Pat Riley as someone that the Lakers wanted and the Knicks wanted. I mean, Mike Brown, he's been all over the league. As we said, he's been a 2-time Coach of the Year. And now, not only is he coaching the New York Knicks, but he's coaching the New York Knicks in a time where everybody expects you to win a championship during that tenure. However long it lasts, this roster came so close last year, and the expectations are as high as they've been since the early 90s, Gordy.
That's exactly right. And if you're a Knicks fan, the last time you won the championship was 1973.
Ooh.
That's when, 1973, Knicks won it with Earl Monroe and Walt Frazier in the backcourt, and they played great. There was an aging team. They had a guy named Dave DeBusschere and Willis Reed and Bill Bradley. So that was their starting team, and they were absolutely great. So it's hard. Winning is hard. There's just so many variables. And so Milwaukee Bucks, Sean, with Dame Lillard, got the largest buyout in the history of NBA basketball. So the question is, for Dame Lillard's career, what's next? I thought about 4 teams that could make sense, whether it's soon him signing or rehabbing and by next season. Now, Sean, he's probably going to play next season, give or take, I would say after the All-Star break, I would say March 1st. So it's possible.
Okay. All right.
So here's the team, Sean, that could make a whole bunch of sense for him. The Timberwolves. Mike Conley's aging. We all love Mike Conley, but he's aging. He would definitely help Anthony Edwards as far as that. The Orlando Magic. They got a good young team. He would help them. All right. Thinking outside the box, the next 2. The Golden State Warriors.
A homecoming for him, even though they're not in the East Bay anymore.
Yeah.
Right across the bay in San Francisco.
Absolutely.
He is a loyal and beloved Bay Area guy. So, man, that would – well, I somewhat jokingly talked about how many jerseys you could sell with Dame Lillard on the Utah Jazz. Even more with the Golden State Warriors. That's his old stomping grounds.
Yeah, and the last would be the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Uh-huh.
So they move on from Darius Garland at the All-Star break, and then they have a tremendous team, the Cavaliers. He would help them. Again, we're talking basically no more than a 2-year contract. That's 2 years.
Sure.
And that whoever signs him, then he could do the rehab also in that building. So a huge factor right now is being around professional trainers, meaning medical trainers and staff, helping him get through this injury. So the Achilles tendon, it's an injury where usually it takes most time. There's always an exception. It takes roughly 9 months to a year to heal and be able to play confidently on that injury. So we shall see. It should be interesting. Again, that's the X factor. Sean, if a team is losing and is underperforming, and Dame Lillard one of these 4 teams here, and Dame Lillard is staring at you, you're going to try to sign him.
I mean, a lot of people talked about how he loves Miami, wants to be in Miami. Here's something. If you're an NBA player, if you're Damian Lillard, with your career earnings already, with your endorsement deals already, you can live in all 50 states if you feel like it. You can buy a place wherever you want to buy a place. Finding a spot where you can compete for a championship and be an important piece of competing for a championship is the only way that Damian Lillard improves his legacy in the NBA at this point, right?
Correct.
Multiple-time All-Star, a guy who's highly thought of all around the league. Fans love him. Other players love him. Executives love him. The only thing that can add to Damian Lillard is championship basketball. And the one that the team that you brought up that I was, that I've read things and seen things and heard things that I think I like the best is Damian Lillard with the Minnesota Timberwolves. You talk about bringing a franchise, a championship, you're not the star there. You're not the one carrying them. But what you are is you're the perhaps missing piece that allows Ant-Man to be less ball dominant and to if I'm Anthony Edwards, I'm begging Damian Lillard to come play for me, come play with me, because now I'm not expected to take that clutch shot, which is something that Ant-Man's not particularly good at. So I just love that idea of Damian Lillard being with the Minnesota Timberwolves. It might be the least appealing of all those places to live, but again, you don't have to live there for more than 2 years, based on your premise. And even if you're going to be there 365 days a year, it's not. I mean, it's not the end of the world given what your resources allow you to do before that and after that.
Very much. So if that was the case, just for the narrative right now, is that Mike Conley would come off the bench. So the starting lineup eventually would be Dame Lillard, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels. They just signed Julius Randle, and then Rudy Gobert. And then the sixth man he just signed also was Naz Reid, with also off the bench Dante DiVincenzo. And you realize that the T-Wolves just signed today Joe Ingles. So Joe Ingles is playing again next season for the T-Wolves.
All right.
So good for Joe.
Okay, Joe.
This is Joe's. Next year we're talking the 25-26 season. This will be Joe's 12th season in the NBA as an undrafted player. So the T-Wolves have back-to-back appearances in the Western Conference Finals. Dame Lillard would give them a tremendous knockout punch as far as being an elite three-point shooter, and he would also help Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter score buckets. Because that's what, again, it comes down to in playoff basketball. Are our three best guys on our team better than your three best guys who you're playing against at that moment? And we saw that right now with the most recent one with the Thunder, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being an unbelievable player and Jalen Williams being incredible, and then Chet Holmgren. They were better than the three best players at that time of the Indiana Pacers, meaning Halliburton, who didn't play, got hurt, and ironically, Miles Turner just signed to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. How crazy is that? And then also with Pascal Siakam.
What is the, I guess, behind-the-scenes conversation like now that we've had a couple of weeks to digest it, but Tyrese Halliburton with the calf strain, everybody cautioned and everybody warned and said, you try to push this too far, it's an Achilles tear, and you're losing a year of your career. But the situation he was in was, of course, trying to get his team a championship. In NBA circles, is that considered the right decision or the wrong decision by Halliburton and the Pacers and everyone involved for him to push through and eventually pop that thing?
It was the right decision for everyone involved. Yeah, again, the medical doctors, they do this every single minute of the day, and they gave him the okay of it. And he played as hard as he could. Remember, the Pacers at halftime was winning that game in Game 7. And so I always talk about this, is that we might never have this opportunity again ever as a unit. And just like in the NFL and just like in the NBA, that those same 12 players will never be together in the same room ever again, meaning the players. Because the rosters change. We saw this already right now, how the free agency, how it's amazing how many guys are moving teams that are good players. And so you draft. It's interesting. So last Wednesday was the draft, and then the free agency started on Monday. Most of the players can sign officially on Sunday, July 6th. That's how it works. So right now, players are committed to go to a certain team, but they call it the NBA clearinghouse, that it takes them basically 4 days for the contracts to clear, to make sure everything is legally bounding right now.
So Damian Lillard's got his options. Same injury as Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton does not have options. He's with the Indiana Pacers for the foreseeable future. One angle we haven't talked about is the Milwaukee Bucks making the decision to waive Dame and bring in Miles Turner. They agreed to a contract with Miles Turner, who's got a Lego collection. He has to move now to Milwaukee. But more importantly, the reports out there that Giannis doesn't like this, that this is not something that your number one player, the most important player on your franchise, and the most important player in at least recent franchise history, is displeased potentially with this move. What does that mean for the Milwaukee Bucks?
Okay, that it means that it's going to be probably disjointed during next season. They have an accomplished coach in Doc Rivers, but Dame Lillard injury set them back, and now they're walking away from him. And they've got to try to regroup. So the Bucks have been knocked out in the playoffs in the first round for 3 straight years. So they need more on their roster, and by losing Dame Lillard, is that it will set them back. They'll still be a strong team, but again, teams like the Bucks, you're judged by playoff success or lack of success. So it's just like in the NFL, Sean. You could have an unbelievable season, but if you lose that first game in the playoffs, it is absolutely cruel that your unbelievable hard work for the last 8 months is now what? Not there anymore because you've lost in the playoffs. That's why it's people think, like say the Thunder right now. Hey, are they going to be a dynasty? Really? If history tells us right now, this is the 7th straight year of a different champion, why not? So next year will be probably a different champion.
I can't decide if Oklahoma City fans should be encouraged by the fact that they're not based on individual talent as much as, I mean, obviously you have your MVP, you have SGA, but the model in the NBA for a decade plus was you got to have these 3 all-star giants, you got to get them all to play well together, and you can fill in the pieces around them. You got Shea and a really high-quality supporting cast, but, I mean, Jalen gave you 40 points in a game in the finals. That makes him a star, at least on some level. But we're not talking about Shaq and Kobe here. We're not talking about, in my opinion, at least Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. You're talking about one megastar and a bunch of guys around him. Is that something that is more sustainable, or do you need to fill in stars around if Oklahoma City wants to be on top for long?
What they need right now is that, remember, the other guys are getting better also. Mm-hmm. So like the Thunder, they won 2 Game 7s in this playoff run, and to their credit, they're both at home. They beat the Denver Nuggets, and they beat the Indiana Pacers. So their NBA title, which is absolutely great for them and for the franchise, they were challenged for it. And those challenges will be continuing even next year. So everyone, if you stay the same in any professional sport or any business, that means you're losing ground. So you've got to keep improving that. So there'll be a force next year, but there's 2 teams in particular, Sean, that really improve themselves, and they would be right now the Denver Nuggets. You can make a discussion. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. You can make that discussion, and now with them, they just re-signed Bruce Brown, who left them to go to the Pelicans. We brought him back right now, and then Tim Hardaway, who's a knockdown shooter, and they got their backup center they need tremendously in Jonas Valanciunas. And the most important thing for the Denver Nuggets, they moved on from Michael Porter's contract. So the Nuggets traded Michael Porter to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson, who is a good young player, who's a knockdown shooter, plus an unprotected 2032 draft pick in the first round that goes to the Nets. So the Nuggets have got dramatically better just by subtraction, and Valanciunas gives them a huge factor. Now, with the Houston Rockets, those guys won 52 games this year, but they lost to the Warriors with that savvy team in Game 7 at home. The Rockets lost. So they have an excellent team, but now they re-signed Steven Adams, they re-signed Jabari Smith, they signed Clint Capella, which is absolutely gives them another big guy on the boards, and then he just signed yesterday Dorian Finney-Smith, and let's not forget the best thing they got this year was Kevin Durant. So they added Kevin Durant, they added Dorian Finney-Smith, and they added Clint Capella to a already star team already. So they're going to be a force that's going to go after the Thunder. The West is loaded. I mean, there's so many good teams. So if you're a Jazz fan right now, the Jazz, they have so much more work to do, and they know it. And so the question with these young guys, can they keep getting better and growing individually as a group? Because it's who you play against. Remember, you're judged who you play against.
Even as I said 5 minutes ago, Damian Lillard should go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. With all those points you make about the West, go to an Eastern Conference team. Go play for Orlando. Go play for the New York Knicks. Go play for somebody. Add yourself into the mix in the East, because the West is so loaded right now. Trying to emerge, I mean, we might get the next 5 NBA champions out of the Western Conference.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, very much. It could be. Again, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, the Warriors, the Mavs with Cooper Flagg now with that group, and Kyrie, hopefully of the ACL injury, will come back roughly around, again, a give or take, I'm saying January 15th, and then with Anthony Davis right now. And so all these teams are absolutely ultra talented, but doesn't mean that they're going to go deep in the playoff, because someone's not going to make it. That would be surprising, and someone's going to overachieve. And the question is, who will it be? Also, San Antonio Spurs. See, the Spurs right now with Victor Wembanyama, they haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. They just made a very smart decision. They got from the Celtics Luke Cornett, who's, again, off the bench as a big guy, will help Wembanyama as far as being the backup to him. It'll give them some more depth.
All right, Gordy, what's your list today?
My list today, after the draft right now, I thought about the NBA Rookie of the Year award winners the last 10 years. So will it be in 2026, will the winner be Cooper Flagg? Will it be Dylan Harper? Will it be the Jazz own Ace Bailey?
That's my pick.
Will it be VJ Edgecombe? We'll see. But here's the last 10 years. 2016, Karl Anthony Towns from the T-Wolves, first pick of the draft. 2017, Malcolm Brogdon of the Bucks, he was picked at number 36 in the draft, became Rookie of the Season. 2018, Ben Simmons of the 76ers, who's technically was 2 years earlier, but he didn't play his natural rookie season. He played the second year, became Rookie of the Year. 2019, Luka Doncic from the Mavericks was the third pick of the draft. And by the way, the first pick that you have the draft was DeAndre Ayton. 2020, John Morant, the second pick of the draft, and the first pick of the draft that year would have been Zion Williamson. 2021, LaMelo Ball, the third pick of the draft. The first pick was Anthony Edwards.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's so interesting. 2022, Scotty Barnes of the Raptors. He was the fourth pick of the draft. The first pick that year was Cade Cunningham. 2023, Paolo Banchero. He was the first pick of the draft. 2024, Victor Wembanyama, the Frenchman, was the first pick of the draft. 2025, meaning this past season, Stefan Castle of the Spurs was the fourth pick of the draft. The first pick of the draft was Zachary Richache, the Frenchman. So some of these guys wasn't the first pick of the draft. There were four. One time was Malcolm Brogdon, was 36. But the fact of the matter is that high-level talent will be. Quickly, in Jazz basketball, the only player in Jazz basketball history that would win the Rookie of the Year was Darrell Griffin, alias Dr. Dunkerstein, in 1983. He was selected the Rookie of the Year. By the way, the number one pick that year was Joe Barry Cowell. So Darrell Griffin was a second pick, got it. And quickly,
1983, a very important year in American history.
That was the year you were born.
Correct.
Interesting. I like it. And do you realize that, Sean and James, that the Rookie of the Year trophy is named after no other than Wilt Chamberlain? Because Wilt and Wes Unseld are the only two players in the history of basketball to be named Rookie of the Year and the league MVP in their first year. So Wilt and Wes Unseld. And so the trophy's named the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy. Thus, that's my list of the day. Who will it be in 2026? We'll find out.
It'll be Ace Bailey. And then next year, it'll be A.J. DeBonsa, who's also going to be a Utah Jazz man. And the San Antonio Spurs, who've had back-to-back Rookies of the Year, they don't get to be cocky because now it's the Jazz who are going to do it 2 years in a row.
And that's the goal.
Let's go.
That would be the goal. Absolutely. That would be a great fit in Jazz basketball as you go forward. There's nothing like it, Sean. Free agency, it's like amazing. There's nothing like it as far as right now. It's such a frenzy. So, Sean, even though right now it's 102 degrees outside here in sunny Salt Lake City, in NBA and every franchise's war room, it's always cloudy.
I love
Cloudy.
NBA free agency. I think is more interesting even than I'm a football guy first and foremost, but NBA free agency, when you shuffle the deck in the NBA, the impact of these one or two players is so much greater on NBA rosters than unless you're talking about the biggest name quarterbacks, and they don't ever get to be free agents in the NFL. They get locked up in Supermax and all that kind of stuff. So I love NBA free agency because especially with how wide open the East is now. I mean, you drop one or two players in there. I'm talking to you, Dame Lillard. Could change everything for the next couple of years. It's great. Gordy, you're the man.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
Have a happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Travel safe.
I will do that, and hopefully everyone does. We're going to give you some start bench cut updates, and I'm about to give you a stat. This might be the first time ever on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm going to give you a factoid or stat. There's not one person who's going to like this stat. Everyone's going to hate it, and it's coming next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. If you're just tuning in on the Sean O'Connell Show, we just finished an hour with Gordy Chiesa, our encyclopedia of NBA knowledge. And how about James Peterson? James, I'm incredibly impressed by your knowledge of 1970s NBA names.
Hey, Bill Sharman, Celtics legend. Come on now.
All right.
How could you not know Bill Sharman? That Bob Cousy, Bill Sharman backcourt? As they do on the Dan Patrick Show. Bob Cousy, he's a Houdini on the court with Bill Sharman, his great backcourt mate.
I wish there was some way to bring back that old-timey accent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the Shane Gillis comedy bit when he makes the point about when that accent went away.
Yeah.
It's very hilarious. But I wish there was a way to bring it back. In any case.
It's so good.
And you knew more than Google about the D'Antoni
situation. I'm a little ashamed that Mike D'Antoni's the first guy I thought of when Pat Riley was the other guy, but yeah. Yeah. I did a little bit more. I went to basketballreference.com and I found there's Vogel and Sharman were technically coached both Lakers and Celtics, but neither of them were head coach of both teams. There's those franchises have not shared a head coach.
They've never
before.
shared a head coach. All right.
The closest we got was Doc Rivers being the Clippers head coach.
He was in L.A.
But but not. But that's it.
Hey,
so
you want to talk about like a cheating thing to do in a trivia question? You want to stump somebody? You want to stump the Schwami or whatever that guy's name was?
Who's coached in
Who's
L.A.?
Who's ever coached L.A. and Boston in the NBA? Because immediately people are going to be like, ooh, Lakers, Celtics. And the answer is Doc Rivers, Clippers, Celtics.
Yeah. People like me and be like, well,
him.
It's Doc Rivers, obviously. No, Elgin Baylor was the GM of the Clippers for a long time. I don't know if he ever coached. Anyway,
great stuff. The start bench cut today has been controversial for people. We went Power 5 era running backs. Yesterday we did the precursor to the Power 5 era, which of course is a very long history of Utah running backs. It was Fast Eddie Johnson, Chris Fuamatufala, Mike Anderson. And today we're doing the Zach Moss, John White IV, Devontae Booker start bench cut. You don't get Joe Williams. You don't get Tavion Thomas. You have to start bench cut Zach Moss, John White IV, Devontae Booker. Our very own Porter Larson, by the way, James, his response was just to throw a little wishbone, flexbone formation at us and have all three of them on the field at the same time. You can't do that, Porter.
Flag on the play, Porter.
Yeah.
That's
10-yard penalty. Holding.
Can't do it.
Holding on too strong to your love of all these running backs.
Can't do it. You got to cut one of them.
You got to make a decision.
OC and I hated cutting the Wolfman. Well, you cut the Wolfman too, right? Did you reveal yours?
I don't think I actually publicly revealed mine, but yeah, I'm cutting the Wolfman too, even though
we hate doing it, but that's the game. You got to do it. You got to pick one of those guys to cut, and then for us, it's Wolfman.
And even benching one of them feels icky because they're all 1,000-yard rushers. So, in any case, start bench cut, and then we did the cold summertime treats: the ice cream cone, the snow cone, and the Otter Pop. We have an Otter Pop loyalist, by the way. I got to find the text or tweet. It was start Otter Pop, bench Otter Pop. Otter Pops for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and every snack. Wash it down with a melted Otter Pop.
All right.
That's someone with a pathological addiction to Otter Pops.
Wash it down with a melted Otter Pop. Love that. It's just juice at that point.
But does it seem like juice?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like juice is not even the right analogy. It's what it is it's Kool-Aid, but it's like very concentrated Kool-Aid. It's like the Kool-Aid that your 8-year-old neighbor makes and sets up the lemonade stand, and you go over there, and you're just like, oh, yeah, I'll take one. Which, by the way, inflation has hit those little neighborhood lemonade stands, too. They give you a little cup, a little Dixie cup, and it's like $1.50. In any case, you see the pitcher that they're pouring it from, and there's just a sediment of pure sugar at the bottom. Hey, start Stir that bad boy up before you pour this out. Let's get some of that high fructose back in my life, okay? Come on, kid.
Do we feel like this just popped into my head? Do we feel like, based on the great Bill Riley, voice of the Utes, his response to the fireworks question being Bush League, the kitty fireworks that we said not being dangerous enough?
Yeah.
Do we feel like he's like Otter Pops? No, like I don't have time for Otter Pops. Do we feel like, based on that, that's a Bill Riley take on this?
I think that Bill probably despises Otter Pops.
That's what that just popped into my head. Two unrelated things, but for some reason,
it's like those.
It feels like he would be like, no.
If you hate Poppets, you also hate Otter Pops.
Yeah,
you
just Sparklers and Otter Pops.
You just don't want
the same.
You don't want kids summer. You want like, I'm out on the boat. There's bikinis everywhere. You're like adult summer kind of person. You know what I mean? You're like, there's no room for Otter Pops.
Give me a frozen Heineken.
Yeah, it's like I want daiquiris, and I want bikinis, and I want giant mortar fireworks.
By the way, Bill, if you want to text in and clear this up for us, since we have dragged you into this, I've dragged you into this conversation, 877-353-0700. Or you can just text either one of us. We'll be sure to get your actual take on this.
79.
If you want to clear it up.
7946 says Otter Pops are king. I told you I was going to give you a stat that it will be universally despised, reviled, hated. Everyone's going to despise this. You ready? As of today, James Peterson, we are halfway through 2025. We're on the downhill for the rest of the year. Okay? So whatever that resolution you made on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day was, you now have less than 6 full months to accomplish that goal. All right? So let's all get our rears in gears.
So what that means is you got another 3 months before you actually have to start.
Yeah. If you wanted to lose 15 pounds this year, definitely wait until you get to Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas cookie
and football
season,
by the way.
That's exactly when you're going to really dial in on your diet, okay?
Football snacks while you're watching TV, even before the holidays.
I'm screwed. But because we're halfway through 2025 now and on the downhill of 2025, we are also now closer chronologically to the year 2050 than to the year 2000.
Wait, what did you just say?
We are closer to 2050 than we are to 2000.
I hate that. You're right. I absolutely hate that.
You're driving in your car right now.
All right, OC, I'm going to go home and eat a whole tub of summertime ice cream.
And you are 25 and a half years and 1 day away from 2000, your high school prime, showing up in the old station wagon to pick up the prom date, whatever. That was 25 plus years ago. And just under 25 years from now is the year 2050, all right? A post-apocalyptic wasteland of just debt and excessive abdominal weight. That's what's happening.
And no doubt some kind of horrific war. No doubt there's something like that on the horizon.
We've all seen the post-apocalyptic future movies, right?
Yeah.
It's always like, the year is 2032. That's close, man.
We're getting there.
The year is 2048. Well, you're closer to that than you are to 2000.
I hate that. OC.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I told you were going to hate it.
By the way, post-apocalyptic, I started The Last of Us. I told you I wanted to start that, and you had told me that the second season doesn't end well, so I'm like, well, great. Now do I even have to start it? I finished the first season
of The Last of Us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loved it. Loved the Salt Lake skyline at the end. That was pretty sweet.
Uh-huh.
No Bethany Clark Field, though. Did you notice the baseball field that they're looking at has the sign Bethany Clark Field? I thought, oh, that must be looking right at West High School's high school field. That's not the name of West High School's field. So they made up a name.
Was that a little Easter egg, little shout out to like something like the makeup artist or
I guess
the head of catering or something?
I guess so.
You could do that if you're in a movie or in a television show.
I was looking at it. I'm like, they must be looking from West High School, and then I drive past there on go Beck Street, then the third west.
Yeah.
And
which is the only way to come into town from the north, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I drive past there every day, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. West High School is a little bit too north from that viewpoint in the show. So it's actually, I think, at the Triad Center.
Okay.
Where KSL and the broadcast house there, I think that's the view.
All right.
That we're looking at, maybe the parking garage from the Triad there, looking out at.
So just to clarify, are you airing a grievance that the fictional post-apocalyptic world in which cordyceps fungus has created?
Yeah, that's definitely happening before 2050, right? We're getting the mushroom zombies.
That the mushroom zombie accurate or view of Salt Lake City is not accurate enough.
No, I was just mentioning. You mentioned post-apocalyptic, so I went on a tangent about Last of Us and how cool the post-apocalyptic Salt Lake looked, and how I think I know where they're standing. I think it's a parking garage there by the Delta Center.
All right. Well, 7946 is back with the jorts hate. Sparklers to burn your jorts. No, stop it. Make sure, everyone, by the way, 4th of July weekend is prime jorts wearing territory. And we are closer to the year 2050 than we are to 2000. Guess what, everyone? Jorts are going to be the #1 fashion in 2050. I know it. AI,
you know that.
Grok AI told me.
Okay.
Whatever. All right, we got to take a break.
Our ESPN 700 AI told you that. We're definitely going to have that by 2050.
Yes. Unfortunately, in 2050, the show will be run by AI. You won't have a job. I won't have a job. Our robot overlords will just be like, the Utah Jazz are tanking again for the 25th straight year.
We'll program it to sound like Sean O'Connell one day, Bill Riley the next day, Spence Checketts the day after that. That's what.
Just
whoever else.
Bring back all the archives of everyone who's ever worked for ESPN 700.
Don't worry, never me. We will never have me.
Even
Don't worry,
AI,
all my haters.
Even AI, James Peterson, just stop it.
Stop.
No, you're not allowed. All right, we got to take a break. Sean O'Connell Show continues. Some upsets at Wimbledon. Coco Gauff is out, and it wasn't an excuse, but she did offer a pretty compelling reason as to why she had some difficulties. I want to talk about that next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, you've heard me talking about our partnership with the Steel Vault in the heart of Holiday. I went down and I had an opportunity to take care of myself with one of their treatments. They're offering a couple new treatments, and we're going to have the wellness director from the Steel Vault join us here in just a second on the Sean O'Connell Show. Before we get there, some upsets at Wimbledon. Number 2 in the world, Coco Gauff, got dropped in straight sets yesterday. That was shocking for a lot of people. I don't know if Wimbledon, I don't know if tennis is the same way as like golf is, every other major sport is, where they want the stars to be in the prominent television spots. Probably not Wimbledon's favorite thing that Coco is out. The reason I wanted to bring it up, oftentimes you'll hear athletes either take one of two approaches when they have an unexpected loss, right? They'll say, yep, this is all on me, got to get better. And they're a little bit tight-lipped and they don't really want to answer stuff. They fulfill the media obligation, then they get out of there. Or you'll have people that go the other way. Here's the reason why I lost this fight. Here's the reason why I lost this game. Here's the reason. And then they give you a bunch of stuff that ends up sounding a little bit like excuses. Coco Gauff sat down and was asked about, her struggles, her surprise struggles in losing and being out of Wimbledon. And she brought up something that was, I guess it could be called an excuse, but to me it was more of just a compelling discussion about she just finished winning a major at Roland Garros on clay. All right? And now she's playing on grass at Wimbledon, and she's in the same boat as all the other elite players in tennis. But she talked about pretty openly about how it's a big adjustment for her and how she struggles making that adjustment. And it's something that is pretty unique to tennis. Football players will complain about the difference between grass and turf. But most of the time, you're playing on analogous surfaces, all right? You're not that much faster on turf versus grass. Stopping and starting is not that much different on turf versus grass. Basketball players in the NBA or even college basketball players don't have to play on hardwood one day and LDS church carpet the next. Although that would be amazing if they did that.
Yeah, can we get different surfaces per venue here? No, that would be insane.
It's not like in the NHL they've got smooth ice in Salt Lake City and bumpy ice in Denver.
Yeah.
And in tennis, you're talking about even the elite players in the world sitting down and saying, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to play on grass, especially after I spent 2 weeks playing on clay where you have to factor in the slide.
Yeah, and it's only about a month, maybe 5 weeks in between the end of the French and the beginning of Wimbledon too. So that 5-6 weeks at the most. So that is a hard I can imagine that's a hard adjustment, especially in that short a time. The other analogous thing I can think of, but it's not different surfaces, is golfers. They only have a month between majors, and the courses are all different. It's the same. Sure. It's still grass. It's still whatever. It's not grass and sand and it's not like that. But these courses are very unique to any other course. So
correct.
Maybe there's an analogy there, but it's not quite the same.
And you bring up an interesting thing about golf courses, and that factors in, right? And we've talked with people who are way more knowledgeable about golf than I am, certainly, about how certain styles play better on certain courses. But at the end of the day, your actual athletic performance in golf is not affected by the surface, right? It's not affected by the course. It's like your golf swing is supposed to be the same whether you're standing at Pebble Beach or whether you're at TPC Sawgrass. Like, you're supposed to swing the same way.
And it's different in tennis. You're right. You have to adjust even the way you swing, your footwork, everything is different. Yeah.
And look, I guess the closest analogy we have is artificial turf fields or grass fields in soccer and football. In soccer, by the way, outside of the United States, They just flat out won't play on artificial turf. Like the elite players in the world are just they will not play on artificial turf. They won't do it. Even the most advanced, the nicest field turf with the fine sand and the best little rubber pellets, they're just like, no. Because they're in the luxurious position of being able to refuse and saying, like, no, what are you talking about? I'm Leo Messi. I'm not doing that. But in tennis, man, Coco Gauff, at 21 years old, she's just like, I don't know if I can figure out how to play on grass. Doesn't want to write it off, certainly, this early in her career. But a fun little quirk of tennis that two of the most iconic tournaments in tennis are on surfaces that you have to adapt to. And by the way, it is a testament to the ability of the people who've been able to win both, to collect those Grand Slams, to collect those majors, and to be able to be a consistent performer across, I mean, again, two wildly different surfaces that cause you to alter your approach to shots, the way that you work your feet, your strides, everything. Really, really cool stuff. And something just to think about if you're tuning into Wimbledon. All right. I've talked to you about the Steel Vault and Holiday. I've talked to you about my experience at the Steel Vault and Holiday in their Elysium device, the red light bed, promoting healing on kind of like a cellular level with new technology. But that's not the only new thing they've got going on down at the Steel Vault. And joining us to talk about some of your options, Shauna Leonard, Wellness Director at the Steel Vault down in Holiday. Shauna, welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Doing great. I'm excited to talk to you about something that, look, I'm in the age right now. I'm 41 years old. I'm going to be 42 in just a couple of months. And a lot of the guys my age have started to have conversations, you know, amongst friends and coworkers and things like that about, some of the stuff that you're offering, the hormone therapy for men, but also the hot thing right now seems to be peptide treatments, injectable peptides. And there's a lot of information out there. There's some conflicting things. You got to sift through a lot of information. I'm thinking the Steel Vault. I just outsource this. I say, all right, you guys are a full service med spa. Tell me what I should be doing with these injectable peptides, and you now offer them.
We do, and it's important to understand like what they are. They are great cellular communicators, so it's the language that our bodies understand, and to have somebody help direct exactly what you need. There's a lot of different doses. There's a lot of different dosing forms, and there's a lot of information out there. I just got back from 2 separate peptide conferences, so I think coming here and talking with somebody like me who understands the differences in how to target, how to cycle them, how to dose them, the routes to use, is really helpful for everybody's goals. They're amazing for inflammation. They're amazing for gut health. They're amazing for recovery. And then using them, one peptide for one cycle and then changing to a different peptide for another cycle, for our wellness and longevity. They're super powerful, and they are, they're safe, they're effective. And having somebody that understands that, I think, is really helpful. It takes the guesswork out of, where should I get this peptide? Some, weird website, and is it safe and is it pure? We take that guesswork out of it.
Well, the beauty of having a resource like the Steel Vault is all you're required, right? If you're me, if you're the consumer, all that's required of me is to say, hey, here's what I want. I need energy to be better. I feel like I need to work on some fat loss. I've got these nagging injuries from my old college sports days or whatever, and I need to know how to address these things. And then the knowledge is there at your facility to know, all right, well, I know what your goals are. Here's what we can do to help you meet those goals.
Exactly. Yep. And the order of operations, like what do we want to address first and what do we need to balance first for all of your goals?
Now, I said I had an opportunity to go down and lay in the red light bed, and I'll be honest with you, I'm always, when I approach a new treatment, I'm always kind of like at least a little bit skeptical. I try to be open-minded about things, but I always try to – I'm like, all right, is this going to make a serious difference for me? Is this going to work? What sort of magic is there? I'm sure there's a scientific or technological basis to it, but what magic do you have going on in the red light beds right now?
It feels like magic, but it is 100% science. Our bodies, again, it's understanding, communicating with what our cells understand, which is energy. So it's a kind of advanced red light, infrared. There's also combination of other energy treatments, including PEMF, which is pulsed electromagnetic fields, and TENS. So there's a lot of stacking of different energy treatments, which actually penetrate to the cellular level, get to the mitochondria. So it's really a basic energy cellular science that actually feels very magical when all of those things are stacked together and affect literally every cell. So there's great reduction in inflammation, which is the source of a lot of discomfort and a lot of disease. So identifying that first and treating that first helps the cells function better in every organ. So it can be effective literally for the entire body. Our brains, our hearts are inflamed, fill in the blank. It's really, really powerful treatment and has a ton of science. The science behind the red light, it dates back years and years and years. And this Elysium has stacked what's known with things that are emerging in the field, which is really exciting, but has a great safety record as well, safe and effective. So it is, and pairing it with the peptide, also we have some hydrogen water, which is great as well, that we pair with it. And actually hydrogen that is breathed through a nasal cannula similar to oxygen, which stacks with the therapy as well, making it more effective. So there is a lot to putting these things together. Again, it is best what our bodies understand for cellular repair and best function.
You just don't have an excuse to feel tired, lazy, out of shape, fatter than you should be. There are resources out there to help you, and the Steel Vault has been great partners for us here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I know that for men especially, sometimes it's hard to go ask for help. I'm telling you, fellas, go down there with the intent of hooking your wife up, hooking your significant other up. Go down there with the intent of, I'm going to book a treatment for my lady. And while you're there, just stack it on top to say, hey, let's do a 2-for-1. Let's do it something for me as well. I promise you're not going to regret it. Thank you so
100%. You're welcome. And I actually treat a lot of men. Today on my schedule, I've treated more men than women. So
beautiful.
So come on down. We got you.
Go say hello to Shauna. Tell her that the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 sent you. Take advantage of the 20% discount at the Steel Vault in Holiday. Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you.
SteelVault.com as well. There's a big book now button. You can schedule your consultation or your visit online. TheSteelVault.com. That's STEELE. All right, hour 3 begins next. We're going to dive into the BYU quarterback situation. No Retzlaff. What do they have behind center? And some NCAA 26 player ratings. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Sean O'Connell Show continues here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. If you can't listen to us live, find us on the ESPN 700 app. Go to your smart speaker, tell them to play ESPN 700. You should be watching us at ESPN 700 Sports Utah on YouTube. And there's always an on-demand section at ESPN700sports.com as well. All right, check it in on the BYU Cougars. We're a few days away from Big 12 Media Days down in Texas. Obviously, BYU is going to be a major presence there. Utah will be as well. Texas Tech, I think, is going to prominently feature into the discussions. But very few teams in this conference have had a wilder, woollier offseason than BYU has. Ronald Weaver III, Cougar Sports executive producer on our brother station over at 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan, kind enough to give us a few moments to talk about the Cougar side of things. Ronald, what's up? How are you?
I'm good, OC. Thanks for having me. If you want to talk about wild, talk about chaos. That's probably a better word to describe what's going on down there in Provo, Utah, right about now.
And look, not all bad chaos when you go back far enough, because they did well in the transfer portal. They stole one of Utah's best players, got him to come down. People are still real salty about that, but of course the wild and woolly stuff that's happened as of late is far less pleasant news for Cougar fans. Jake Retzlaff is not going to be your quarterback, it doesn't look like, for this upcoming season. And I don't want to talk about the case. It was not a positive outcome for anyone, in my opinion. I think it's really unfortunate that these situations even exist in our life, in our society, and we spent plenty of time talking about that on the show. So I want to move on. I want to turn the page to what this Cougar team does next. And so my only Jake Retzlaff question for you is going to be, how big of a loss is he from a leadership standpoint, from a team dynamics standpoint? We know what his stats look like. We know what his abilities were on a football field, but let's talk about the locker room stuff. Losing a guy like this at this juncture in your offseason, that can't be easy either. How do they adjust?
Yeah, OC, I think you hit it on the head. First of all, I use the word hate. You hate that those situations and things occur. That's all I'll say on that. Moving to your question, it's unfortunate to lose a voice, a presence. Jake played 4 years of college football. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny a guy that played 2 seasons for BYU, full season of 1. He commanded the locker room. I remember fall camp last year. OC, Gary Bohannon had that job won up until like the last week, of fall camp. And Jake said, nah, I'm not done. Hold on, and it went and overtook it and became, emerged as a starter. That says a lot about a guy's leadership and grit on the field and getting the locker room to lead him to an 11-2 season. It's a big loss. It's a step back. Fans can say, oh, well, his stats were average, quarterback plays average. That doesn't matter. When you lose a voice like that, a guy that arguably, has the most P4s in program history, you cannot turn away from that and look at that. It is a downslide. This is nothing against what they have in the quarterback room. McKay Hillstead, Bear Bachmeyer, and Trayson Bourget are phenomenal quarterbacks. They all have an opportunity to win the job going in the fall camp. But when you lose a guy like Jake that's so pivotal, who had command of your offense, who is going into year 3, you can't replace that experience, OC. And it's going to be a step back. You had opportunity. You were talking about the Big 12 title game last season when you were close to it. You were talking about it this season. And with 6 weeks away now from fall camp, that's not even a discussion. That's not even on the table anymore.
Which is, it's crazy because you look at the rest of this roster, and I'm of the opinion, I agree with everything you said, but I'm of the opinion that Jake was not necessarily going to be the catalyst to true greatness for a BYU roster, and he wasn't going to be the thing that took you out of that category either. I think that's kind of the place that a quarterback of his talent, that's the place that he occupies, in my mind. But the rest of this roster, what Jay Hill and Kalani and Gary and everyone down there have done on defense is what scares me about BYU. Still, you need a quarterback who cannot be a liability. You need a quarterback who can maximize how good that defense is. You need a quarterback who can build drives so they get a little bit of rest on the sideline, and you just gave us the 3 names. Now we're talking about a real quarterback battle in fall camp for the 2nd year in a row for Aaron Roderick and this offense. Bourget, Bachmeyer, McKay Hillstead, how do you handicap those in that race right now?
Yeah, it's not. First of all, it's not a situation Aaron Rodgers probably wants to be in. If you're the offensive coordinator, you want to be able to know who your guy is going into the season. You don't want to have another quarterback competition back-to-back years, but that's what you'll have to do. And it's tough because, you look at Bear Bachmeier, who was a four-star coming out of high school, but the guy hasn't played a snap at any level, of college football like that. He's competing in the spring ball, and there's good clay, there's good talent, but he's got to learn the playbook. Right, and I've heard from sources that he's doing that. He's coming along. He's making progress in that. But we haven't seen him in the BYU offense, even in the camp. So we don't know. And, yes, the talent's there, but guys have to perform in camp. They have to play against their guys. They have to execute the playbook the way they coaches. So I don't know if that's the guy that can emerge. And then that leaves the two guys who I think will be competing for it. No doubt that leaves McKay Hillstead, who won a state title, at Sky Ridge, a guy that has a lively arm, a guy that can scoot, who's a great duo at that quarterback. And then you got Trayson, and maybe Trayson's not as good of a runner as McKay, who also ran in track in high school. But Trayson can push the ball vertically. That's going to be the battle. That's going to be eyes on Trayson Bourget. McKay Hill said that is what the quarterback competition will come down to. And one of those two guys will have to emerge as QB1. But it's going to be a step back, like I mentioned earlier. OC, I'm not a guy, I don't believe in hypotheticals. Jake Head did it at the highest level. Even if the stats didn't show, he had been in experienced games. Even in that close Utah game, you want to refer back to that of he's done that drive before, he felt that pressure. McKay and Trayson haven't taken a Big 12 snap. Neither has Bear Bachmeier. So there's probably going to be some nerves from fans, and it should be, as to who will be your quarterback, because none of these guys have played P4 football at that highest level yet in the Big 12.
Well, because you brought up the Utah game, right? I mean, that was one of the great rivalry games with a bad result for my listeners here on this show. But that game is a good snapshot of exactly what we're talking about with quarterback play versus quarterback stats. Because if I look at the box score, Ron, I look at the box score of that game, I'm saying, yeah, bring that same guy back to play against Utah every single year. He had no touchdown passes. He was 15 to 33, his like 200 and something yards. It was not a sexy stat line. It wasn't an incredible game. But then what happened was you get a drive extended by a penalty, and he goes out and he builds what ends up being the game-winning scoring drive by finding a couple of wide receivers, and that we'll get to one of those wide receivers in particular here in a moment. But it's like the stat line and the stats don't tell that whole story. And if nothing else, system mastery, chemistry with your teammates, the confidence in a moment like that to go out and execute when the game was won by the other side seconds before that flag come out. And that's something that I don't know if you can coach.
Nope, you can't coach leadership like that. You can't. Obviously, there are three things you can't coach. You can't coach a guy that has confidence. You can't coach athleticism, and you can't just coach natural God-given ability that a guy has. And some might think they're all intertwined, and they are. You can't coach that. And that's what Jake Retzlaff has had, right? And he's going to take his talents elsewhere, and rightfully so. He has that privilege and that right to do so, and people should support that. And it's going to be tough because now you have to get and the best part that BYU has that they can hang their hat on is this. You have two guys that are going to be competing for the spot, OC, that even if they had the same type of average quarterback numbers like Jake last year, they have had a year in the system, even as being the backup and not playing. They play college football, so they have some experience. So it's not that you're rolling a guy out there that is not going to have any type of confidence or trust at all. They do have guys that have played, so you can build off of that, but it's not going to be like Jake Retzlaff. That was second to none. It's really difficult to replicate that. But, again, like you mentioned earlier, that defense, when you're able to get a guy like Keanu Tanavasa to come now to BYU and what he was doing, wreaking havoc in that BYU-Utah game, causing problems, getting to Jake Retzlaff. When you think about that guy, adding Justin Kirkland, you keep your linebacker core, Jack Kelly, Isaiah Glasgow, they're only going to get better. You got a young safeties room. You have a four-star in Falata Satuala. You have Tommy Prasas. You have Taron Wall. You have Raider Dumuni. When you add those pieces around, young cornerback room that needs some experience, it's going to be tough to still compete with this team. I still think BYU will be in close games down the stretch late, even if they have average quarterback play.
Ron Weaver, our guest here from Cougar Sports. We're talking BYU football ahead of the Big 12 Media Day. All right, so I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but it does matter. The 2026 NCAA 2026 video game is out, and the player ratings, just like Madden ratings, are important to the folks that actually find themselves in the game. The numbers I saw, the highest rated BYU Cougar in this game is Chase Roberts. First of all, is that correct? Or is someone on this BYU roster rated higher than him?
Nope. Chase Roberts is the highest rated player. That is correct.
Okay. Well, that's a fun fact, but I want to talk about his impact on the field, what this guy is actually going to be as a wide receiver for BYU. When you're talking about this quarterback race, it's a lot more difficult to win the quarterback job if you don't have reliable targets, if you don't know where you're going with the ball, if someone can't make you look good when you get the ball into their hands. Whoever wins this job knows they've got at least that with Chase Roberts.
100% is not even close. If you're a Paw Patrol fan, you'll hear Chase is on the case down there a lot in Cougar country, as they call it down there. And that's exactly right. Chase Roberts was a guy that could have left, that could have went to the NFL, that could have started his pro career. He elected to come back for, that final season of eligibility, to not leave that on the table. And it's a guy that was 150 yards away, OC. That's one game for a guy from having a 1,000-yard season. And BYU hasn't seen that in a long time since Dax Milne. We know it was COVID season, but you talk about Austin Collie, Cody Hoffman. Those are all-time greats at BYU. And Chase, I believe, will go down along that list. When you have a guy like Chase Roberts that's proven that he can be the go-to guy, who catches a pass on 4th and 7 or 4th and 8 in the Oklahoma State game when you think the game is over and BYU is about to take their first loss, and is able to move the chains, when he's catching the ball in double coverage in the Utah game to get you in the field goal position, like, those are not hypotheticals. That's a guy that time and time again who can get away from guys, separation one-on-one and man coverage. When he catches the ball in open space, if you don't tackle him, he'll go hit his head on the goalpost. You can't teach 6'4", 215 pounds. That's just not something you can do. And having that guy back in the room, regardless of who your quarterback is, it gives the quarterback, like you said, confidence, because when that guy's your wide receiver number one, the guy that's going to get more targets this year because there's not a designated wide receiver number two, that gives you more confidence.
So I think their wide receiver room's in good shape. The quarterback room is now a big question mark. Running back, how do you feel about the running back room at BYU right now? I think this might be a real position of strength for them with LJ and Sione and company, but you tell me.
It is a position of strength. You look at what they did last year. They had to have running back by committee. LJ Martin, no doubt. If he stays healthy, some people may think this is a hot take. I think if LJ doesn't get hurt, I think he gets 1,000 yards his freshman and sophomore year. I genuinely believe that. Like, the guy was over 700 yards last year rushing with 7 touchdowns, and he was hurt. He was, hurt multiple games in the season. Same thing happened. Freshman got nicked a little bit. When he's fully healthy, there's no doubt that this guy can rush for 1,000 yards. And if he's able to do that this season, it's going to be really tough for BYU with the landscape of NIL and transfer portal, one, to keep him. And then if you're able to keep him, what does he think about maybe going professionally? Because he's got the build of it. He has everything that you want to look for in a guy that can get to the second level at the NFL stage. But at the same time, when LJ got hurt, Hinkler Rapati also got hurt. We know he had entered the portal. There's no news if he's back at BYU yet. You got Pokai Hunga, who's a young talent. Sione Moa had a great spring ball. I'm really high on Sione. I think he's the future. But we've seen BYU get down to their 4th or 5th string running back, just like we've seen it even with their quarterback situation. I bring Utah up. They got down to their 4th or 5th string. And when you get down to that, when you have to go that deep, that's when things become a little bit of a headache for coordinators, and it's tough for your offense. You want to have good depth, and although I like the 3 guys, I think they can do it. Those guys will have to be told the ball. If they get hurt 1 or 2 and you're in a situation like last year where guys are going down 3 games into the season 2 games into the season at SMU, it's not going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult, in my opinion, to have the same type of success because of your depth. I would have liked to see them get a running back in the transfer portal or be able to retain one guy, because I think those 3, if 2 of them go down or if all 3 do, you're in a really tough situation, I think, of running the football. And LJ Martin's the bell cow back, but he gets hurt, and then the Pokai Hunga gets hurt, Sione Moa, that's tough. That's a lot to ask for a new quarterback who can't lean on experienced running backs to be in the room if he doesn't have a run game.
My hot take for that running back room is that I think Sione Moa deserves just as many carries as LJ Martin does.
I can't disagree with you. That's a very good take. The Kansas State game, I literally looked over, at Ben Criddle, and I said, this guy runs like Isaiah Pacheco. He runs so angry. I was like, give this guy the football. I had said in the game, don't put LJ back in. That's terrible to say. And I love LJ, like in his game and what he's able to do. But give Sione Moa the ball. The way this kid runs is dynamic. Local kid. He's great out of the pass game. He's working on that. But yeah, I honestly think you can do that, and that's why I think it's tough to say LJ will carry the ball 20, 25 times a game, because when you got Sione Moa there, here's another hot take. As much as LJ is running back number one, you can argue that Sione Moa can just be right there with him as well. So we'll see. Obviously, LJ will be listed on the depth chart. I feel like it's one. But you best believe if LJ is getting hurt or if he's not performing, Sione Moa will take that job, and he literally will run with it.
So there's a lot of uncertainty with Utah football right now, but the comfort that we find up here in Salt Lake City is look how good this offensive line could potentially be for the Utes. It solves a lot of problems if you have a great offensive line. And everything we're talking about with BYU, quarterback question, how do you manage your running back room, a lot of that success is dependent on the offensive line. You lost your best offensive lineman last year to the NFL. What does that room look like for BYU heading into 2025?
Yeah, Aaron Roderick has been on record saying Isaiah Jota will be starting, this season. That's nothing I'm revealing. He said that last season, that he really liked what Isaiah Jota brought, what he played in spring ball until, got a little bit dinged up. Andrew Gentry's a question mark. It's a guy that's transferred in that was recovering, but that's the guy that was at Michigan. That was the guy that was on that national championship team that has that experience. Again, that's not something you can teach, right? That's good experience, but if he's not healthy, what does, that look like? And Waylon Lapuapa, I think, is one of the biggest, misses that people forget. This is the guy that doesn't talk a lot, that's gritty at the guard position. Having Waylon back, I think, is a big-time gift for the Cougars, because he is another guy that could have been pulled to go elsewhere, but you get him back. And then Bruce Mitchell, what he was able to do when Connor Pay got out was phenomenal. I believe that guy is going to be your starting center, no doubt. So they have a lot of depth along this offensive line. They got Joe Brown back, but then he tore his ACL last year and wasn't able to participate. So they have the depth, and there's still question marks about who maybe will play what position. But there's no doubt that when they get to fall camp, they'll get it worked out. But you're right, OC. If your offensive line can't block, if they are not able to get to the second level, we saw what happened with BYU in year one in the Big 12. It was pretty ugly, and that's for any school. It doesn't matter. If your offensive line does not block, your quarterback will get hit. You'll turn the football over. You won't have a run game. And if you can't run the football in college football, this is not the NFL. Even at the NFL, you can't just pass and win games like that. You have to have a balanced run game and a balanced offense, a balanced attack in order to do it. So they'll get it figured out. A couple of guys that they'll probably get back in fall camp, but that's something that they still need to get figured out. That's still a question, but not the biggest question mark.
I'm not asking you defensive questions kind of by design, because I think this defense is going to be really good, and it bothers me a little bit. And I'm going to give you an opportunity here, and you can revise it next time we talk to you, but who is the best player on this BYU defense?
I mean, we shouldn't even, talk about that. I know the ratings, and I always say that numbers can lie to people. They really can. And I think the EA College Sports, as much as I love Jack Kelly, a.k.a. Sack Kelly, and when I mean love the way he plays as a game, when you watch that as a fan, media member, you just have to love the way that guy commits the ball, as well as Isaiah Glasgow. Those guys, no doubt, are phenomenal. But the guy on the defensive side of the ball for BYU is Keanu Tanavasa. You look at what he's done for Utah. This is a guy that literally is a game changer. He ends ball games. He stops you. You want to get somebody out of field goal range? That's your guy. You want to get a turnover in the crucial moment in the red zone to stop the other team? That's your guy. This is the guy people want on their team. The Chris Jones is at the next level, right? You look at the TJ Watts. Who's the guy that you fear every time you line up? Who's going to take your double team? Who's the Aaron Donald where you don't want to do that? And I'm not saying that Keanu's those guys, but I'm comparing that sense of who do you fear? When you line up, whether it's Utah, Baylor, TCU, and you look across that BYU defensive line, it doesn't matter who they have. Nothing against Cecilia Akana, Hunter Clegg. When you see Keanu Tanavasa, you're not playing him one-on-one. You're not going to give him that privilege because you respect him and what he's able to do because of his dominance. He is a guy that will literally flip the matter of the game. You thought last year when Jack Kelly had the strip, that fumble that led BYU's momentum at Kansas State, that's what Keanu Tanavasa can do day in, night out, game in and game out. So that's the guy, no question. He is the best guy along the BYU's defense. I don't care what any numbers say.
All right, there's not going to be an official media poll ranking the preseason rankings for the Big 12 Conference, which is hilarious. But if I asked you to make one, who goes on top?
Arizona State. I think you can't deny what they did last year. Kenny Dillingham did something phenomenal, and maybe that's why they said we're not going to do the media poll, because they shut all of the media up, right? Who knows, right? And obviously I picked, Kansas State to win it last year. That's why I went with was being respectful when Kansas State, Utah, Oklahoma State. But hey, look, you cannot deny what they do. They get Sam Levitt back. They get their wide receiver back, Tyson. It's just that combination alone. We saw what they were able to do. Their defense got better. It's going to be tough to pick against Arizona State, and now that they have that experience and how confident they are. I know they lost Cam Scottaboo. That's a big loss. I think they got the running back in the transfer portal from Navy. They've only built on top of what they have. So if I had to pick, I'm going Arizona number 1. And if you're asking me, I'll give my second opinion to who else is going to be in that title game. This might be a little bit of a hot take. I think Baylor and David Aranda and Sawyer Robertson, I think those guys might be in your title game. I got Arizona and Baylor.
Wow. All right. You know what? You got some takes, and I like it, which means before I let you go, start, bench, cut. Okay, we've been playing this game on the Sean O'Connell Show.
Oh, my favorite game, start, bench, cut, my favorite.
Start, bench, cut. We're doing summertime cold treats, okay?
Okay.
Start, bench, cut. Ice cream cone.
Okay.
Otter Pop.
Okay.
Snow cone.
Snow cone. Okay, this is easy. You're cutting a snow cone. Me and my family, we didn't eat snow cone. You're getting rid of a snow cone. What's wrong with you?
Why is that so easy? You're not like the coconut cream, the condensed milk, the ice cream in the bottom. You're not. Hold on. The Weaver family's never pulling over when they see that little snow shack in the Smith's parking lot. For real?
Can't get Mama Weaver to do it. No doubt. You can't get Mama Weaver to pull over for that snow cone. We did it a few times growing up, and it became an urban myth out of it. No way, you can't do it anymore. I can tell you what we will go with. What my family would go with, they would start ice cream, and they would bench Otter Pops. Ronald the three-man Weaver, I'm starting Otter Pops, and I'm benching ice cream. That's right, it's summertime. Give me the popsicles. Give me all the flavors. I'll take that any day.
All right, I'm going to ask you the Utah running back one just to see what you have to say as the outside perspective, okay?
Okay.
Start, bench, cut, running backs from the Utah Power 5 era, from the Pac-12 era. Zach Moss.
Okay.
Devontae Booker. John White the fourth.
Oh, okay. Utah fans, don't kill me. Oh, my goodness.
Well, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. But coming from a BYU guy, they'll find a way to make you wrong.
Yeah, 100% they will. Well, I'll cut the last guy. I know people are going to kill me for that. But I just Zach Moss and Booker, my goodness. I'll have to go. I'll be petty because I saw it. I'll bench Zach. Yeah, I saw you. I saw you when I was in school. I'll bench you. Sorry. And then, pain, man, those days of being back in the day before I got in the media as a fan, I'll do that. I'll bench you to be a little bit, poke a little bit the bear. It's fun, though. And then I'll start Booker dynamic. That you can't go wrong with those three. That's Utah, man. Look, they've had phenomenal running backs, and it's a phenomenal program. And I'll say this. I know this is probably Kyle Whittingham's last year. I got to give some love because I'm a guy, regardless of what happens, I always give credit where credit is due. That man has built up this program in elite. I mean, there's a reason why he's one of the highest paid people in the state of Utah. Like when he leaves and he turns the keys over to Scally, that's going to be not a significant drop, but a drop because Witt is second to none. Like you look at how he's built his program. You look at BYU staff, all the connections there, and how BYU's trying to go about things. Kyle Whittingham, I tip my cap to you. I know this is probably your last season, but you will be missed when you retire because you've been one of the greats in the state of Utah, even though you've been as what they would call the school up north.
Do you know how strange it feels for me to see Gary Anderson in BYU blue, Chad Kaha'a in BYU blue, to see Sione Pua in BYU blue, to see Jay Hill in do you know how strange that is?
Hey, see, I guess as much as it's strange for you as it is for these guys when they maybe golf together or see each other in passing in the off season. Like I couldn't even imagine what that's like, but it is strange, 100%. When you think of the connection of that, every time I see these guys, I'm like, these guys wore red back in their day, and now they're wearing blue. That's crazy, but that's college athletics for you. That's the landscape of it, and that's one of the blessings, you get as being in the state of Utah. You get to see these great coaches at both programs have high-level success and put guys in the NFL both ways. It's amazing.
I'll tell you what, it makes my radio show hard sometimes because I can't hate this BYU team, even though on the home of the Utes, that's kind of what I'm supposed to do, because Kalani Sitake was my position coach for a time at the University of Utah. I love that man. Like, he's a great human being, and I knew that before he was a coach. You know what I mean? Like, he's just an incredible person, and all these guys with these, strong connections through this team, it makes it impossible to hate the success that BYU is having, except for 1 week of the year when it's against Utah. Then it's still okay to hate. But
100%. You can hate October 18th, though. See, you can support BYU until then, but October 18th down in Lavelle, we'll see you there. That's when everybody can hate each other and not like each other. For that day, it's warranted, and I think the man above, who I believe in, I think he understands, and he still loves it. It's okay. It happens.
Appreciate your time and your takes on the show today. Keep doing it, killing it down there with Criddle on our sibling station, and appreciate you. Thank you. That's Ronald 3-Man Weaver.
Thanks, OC. Appreciate you guys for having me on. Have a good day.
If there's any consolation, and I don't think there is, I think it actually just hurts maybe even more. He just said the best player on a really good BYU defense is a guy who has yet to play a down for BYU football because he's a Ute. That's the twisting of the old transfer portal knife is what that is.
I know you had just said you hate how good BYU's defense is, and then he brought up the guy that Utah fans are, and you probably personally, OC, are like, I just hate that he's not with Utah anymore. He brought up that guy as probably their best defensive player, which is saying something because the other two guys that he brought up that are getting probably most of the love nationally and in things like NCAA 26 or 25, whatever year we're in with that, it are probably the other two guys, Isaiah Glasgow and Jack Kelly.
Yeah,
they're awesome too. So that just tells you how good BYU's defense can be.
Wild times, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you know what? It'll be a short airing of grievances, but we can't let you go into your 4th of July weekend carrying around some kind of grievance. So airing their grievances, pretending it's Friday, next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk. All right, unburden yourself. Air your grievances now or forever hold your 4th of July weekend peace. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. Air your grievances. James, do you have a grievance you want to air? You want to get something off your chest?
I do, and it's kind of a PSA as well. I have a grievance against 4th of July or 24th of July related wildfires because of fireworks. Let's not do that this year. Can we all agree to be a lot safer with our fireworks as we do this? I know that many of you are, and hats off to you that are very careful about your fireworks, but let's not have a summer fire started by fireworks this year. We're blessed to have 2 holidays in July here in the state of Utah where we can celebrate with some fireworks. Let's just do it safely, all right? That's my grievance and kind of PSA as you celebrate these holidays for the state and our great country. Use your play with fireworks safely, and probably don't do it if you see a heat advisory that says a red flag warning. Is that what it's called, OC? With dangerous fire warnings. Let's maybe hold off on the fireworks. Let the city do their fireworks show. Enjoy that, but as long as that's not the case, just do it safely.
Look, here's the thing, people. It's actually not hard to not start a fire with your fireworks.
It really is.
It's actually not difficult to not blow your hand off with fireworks, which is why we always make fun of people who do that, which is why you become the butt of a joke when you have the JPP hand.
Yeah.
By the way, I saw him at the airport. Did we talk about that on the show? Saw him at the airport one day. You failed to realize how tall that guy is. He's giant. Built more like a power forward than a football player.
Yeah,
Huge.
he always, on TV, he always looked like he was, cut out of stone. Like, just that picturesque, perfect athlete-looking guy. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that he looks bigger in person.
They did a great job repairing the hand, by the way. It looks kind of like a cool Ninja Turtle type claw, kind of that situation going on. But okay,
stock thing.
Just be safe with the fireworks. Enjoy them.
I'm not.
Have a source of water and make sure there's no dry brush anywhere near it. All right, people.
Yeah.
Just no sparks blowing around. It's easy. I have played with fireworks my entire life and never started a fire on accident. When I was like 9. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? No. Are you smarter than a 3rd grader? Okay? Just don't start fires with your fireworks. Don't take them up in the foothills. Don't go out in a dry field. Water your grass first and then launch them off from the street. Just be smart. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like our guy Porter Larson who kind of says, "Hey, just don't do your own fireworks at all," which for the same kind of reason. I'm not going to be like that. Just do it safely, okay? There's a lot of people that go, "Oh, you're going to tell me I can't use my fireworks?" I'm not doing that. Just don't be dumb.
Yeah, you can't tell people not to, because this is America.
Yeah,
and we're all feeling
and
extra
we're
patriotic.
celebrating America here.
America.
Yeah,
okay,
so go to you now.
Get your jorts on and an American flag piece of apparel, I guess.
Did we just get like 10 grievances on the text line because you said get your jorts on? Is that what I'm seeing?
Grievance. People who don't let you merge onto the freeway. Have you suddenly forgotten how you got onto the freeway in the first place? Someone let you merge. Wild that this is a thing. That actually, yes, that drives me bananas.
Especially when there's room to move over one lane. It happens all the time. It's like, move over so people can merge on.
You actually don't even need to move over a lane.
You don't even need to do that, but
the beauty of the freeway situation is when you're already on the freeway and you notice someone coming in on the off-ramp or on the on-ramp, like, you are already at full speed. So you can either maintain full speed and pass them and they'll slide in behind you, or you can read the room, see how fast they're coming on, like, use your spatial awareness, be an athlete for 5 seconds and be like, okay, they're coming in hot, okay, I'll just tap my brakes and then they'll slide in right in front of me.
Slow down just a bit here.
How many morons out there are just like, I'm going to match this person's speed exactly and drive right next to them so they can't get in? You know where this is most common? This is the most prevalent place that this happens in the Salt Lake Valley, is right here on that 5th South on-ramp You go up over the little spaghetti bowl area.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I can't tell you how many people are driving past downtown. Maybe they're rubbernecking, looking at his. What? Why is there all that crazy stuff painted on the side of that building? Is that a haunted house? And they're just matching your speed exactly, and you can't merge. Yes, thank you.
Valid grievance.
Minor grievance. I never watched the show, but I have played both games. Anybody mad at what happened in season 2 of The Last of Us? Guess what? They just followed the story of the games. Calm down.
Okay.
If you had played the games, you would know what happened. The reason I didn't like season 2 of The Last of Us was more to do with the bad dialogue and the acting than with anything that could possibly be video game related. So I recused myself.
Well, they just followed the same dialogue as the game, OC, so you should have known it was bad,
that
okay?
might not be the best idea. Although video game writing is actually pretty good.
It's gotten really good over the last however long. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to do this because it's hilarious. This is a long grievance. This 7946.
We're probably going to have to break after you're done reading it.
You know what really grinds my gears? BYU jorts. There's something about them. Maybe it's the aggressively clean hemline or the unsettling confidence of those who wear them that triggers a primal grievance deep in my soul. It's like they took the ugliness of the jort and multiplied it beyond recognition. Meanwhile, true joy in life doesn't come from poorly cut denim. It comes from cracking open a Poppet or slurping down a half-dozen Otter Pop on a blistering afternoon. Poppets deliver that perfect tactile explosion of stress relief, especially when aimed at your sister that tattle on you. And Otter Pops, they're the icy nectar of the summer gods. Affordable, flavorful, and gloriously low maintenance. Unlike BYU jorts, which demand a level of self-seriousness that no shorts should ever aspire to. Poppets and Otter Pops understand the assignment. Fun, flavor, and zero pretension.
That's going to go in our grievance Hall of Fame.
That is.
See, we're saving. We can save text on the text line, by the way. I'm saving that text for later.
Bookmark that. Cole, that is the best grievance that's ever been aired on the text line.
Oh, that's Cole from Riverton.
That's right up there with Sarah Todd airing grievances against Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and hating on Sherlock Holmes. That's right up there.
I love the term that he just introduced, primal grievance. Love that.
Well done.
So
Cole, our guy Cole's a bit of a wordsmith. Have you noticed?
He is. Shout out to Cole from Riverton.
Okay. Really quick, I'll air my grievance. It's also it's traffic related, I guess, but it's parking lot traffic related. Okay. The other day I was at Trader Joe's. All right. And I was with my 3 daughters. Now, anyone who has children, and James, you're going to be realizing this when you and the young fellas start traveling around in the car together. When you got kids, getting in and out of the car takes minutes instead of seconds. It's obnoxious. Every parent has to deal with it. It's terrible. We all know it is. We know it's inconvenient for anyone who's waiting to pull into that open space that's next to you. Then they got to pull in and they got to give you like the polite, the little wave. It's not really a smile. It's just like a tight-lipped kind of like, yeah, I understand. We've all been there. All right. No one likes it. The parent doesn't like it. You're trying to rush your kids. You'll be like, hurry up. Okay. My grievance is with whatever random hippie lady pulled up next to me. I have my door open. I'm getting 3 kids out of the same side of the car because it's safer to do it out of the same side of the car than to let them be wandering around in the parking lot. James, I'm not exaggerating when I say there were 20, probably 24 open spots in immediate proximity to my car and to the open space next to my car. And this lady pulls in, waiting for me to close the door, get the kids out of the way, which is taking some time, I fully acknowledge, instead of just pulling into an open spot that is 2 spots away. And then I look at her to offer like the, hey, sorry, we're hurrying. And she gives me the exasperated, both hands up, palms out. What's taking so long? I said, go park somewhere else. And then I went slow. Grievance aired. Read.
We love the pettiness.
Spatial awareness, people. If there's a bunch of open spots, don't pull in right next to the parent that is trying to get 3 kids out of the car.
Who's going as fast as they're going as fast as they can, by the way.
Every one of us is always going as fast as we can. There's no one enjoying a leisurely, in and out of the car moment in a parking lot. That's not something humans do. No. All right? Grievance. Okay. You feel better?
I do feel better.
All right.
I'm ready for a great 4th of July, hopefully wildfire free. Great 4th of July as we practice
It's gonna be wildfire free.
Fireworking.
All right. Get your garden hoses ready if you got a dumb neighbor. Sean O'Connell Show, wrapping things up next on ESPN 792.1 FM. Put it up on the Sean O'Connell Show and sending you into the 4th of July weekend. Tomorrow is a best of show. Friday is the 4th itself. And then we're back on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, our Big 12 media days. And after that, you're basically in football season. Camp begins in about 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks now. It's wild. The Drive with Spence Checketts is coming up next. Porter Larson is going to be holding it down. And he joins us here for a brief little crosstalk. Hey.
How are we?
Great.
Happy Friday.
Feels like Friday. Happy feels like Friday.
It's a football Wednesday.
Yes. All right. Start, bench, cut. I'm going to make you do it. Start, bench, cut. We'll start with the cold summertime treats, okay?
Dude.
Start, bench, cut. Ice cream, snow cone, Otter Pop.
At least this one's easy.
Okay.
At least you made one of them easy.
Okay.
Ice cream cone is you're starting it.
Okay.
Either way, right? Like, to be clear, the other two options are frozen water.
With sugar.
With colored sugar.
Instead of frozen milk with colored sugar?
It's 100 degrees. Listen, it's 100 degrees outside. I'm not complaining about an Otter Pop or a
snow cone.
Snow cone.
Yeah,
or
Snow Shack,
any other
ice, whatever you want to say.
Frazzle, icy, any other version of frozen water with colored sugar.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like a hummingbird. I'm good with that.
Yes.
But you're probably going to have to cut. I think you're going to cut the Otter Pop.
Okay.
Because you can just do that. I mean, you can just do that on your own.
There are a lot of people who started Otter Pop, and there are a lot of people who cut Otter Pop. Otter Pop is feast or famine.
Yeah.
All right?
I mean, yeah, those people just need to think about it a little more, right? You can make an Otter Pop pretty easy.
I'm going to tell you guys the truth.
You got to churn that ice cream. It's tough to make.
I'm going to tell you guys the truth. So I'm going to get a snow cone today.
Oh. Where?
It's happening today.
You doing a shout out?
My family is up in Huntsville. Shout out to Huntsville and Pine View Reservoir.
Ooh, beautiful
area. And on the peninsula, when you drive out to Cemetery Point, there's a house on the left side of the road, like 3 houses in off the turnoff, that has a snow shack, basically permanent, in their front yard. Of course, it's only open seasonally.
Wow. But
it is magical. All right? You go out, you take the kids over there, and they have a bunch of folding chairs just out on the lawn under the trees. It feels like you're going back in time because everyone's just like a community thing. Everyone's polite to each other in line. Thank you. I would like pina colada and peach. And, yes, of course, put the sweetened condensed milk on it. And then, the kids, you're just like, this one is called the Green Zombie. And, of course, they love that. So it's amazing. I'm going to get one today.
You're going up there today?
Yeah.
I'm going to come visit you sometime.
All right, cool.
Pine View. It's such a
beautiful,
cool spot.
Last time we were up there, last weekend we were up there, Osprey were just hunting.
Well, I was going to say, I do raptor surveys.
Yeah.
And that's a frequent spot. So
my dog actually found.
I'll stop and get it icy.
The leftovers of and obviously there was a bird of prey situation because in the middle of a lawn there was a small catfish head. So the bird had eaten the rest of the fish, and my dog found the head and was just like, this is great. Disgusting. All right. Now you got to do the hard one. Start, bench, cut. No, you can't refuse. The rules of the program are that you have to do it. Start, bench, cut. Zach Moss, Devontae Booker, John White the fourth.
Yeah, here's the issue. You got the YouTube on? This is a legal formation.
You can't do it.
You see, you got the line of scrimmage covered. You got 3 in the backfield. I'm thinking Matt Asiata maybe
as a Wildcat quarterback
taking the snap. But I just want to. I don't know what the tight ends. I don't know what the tight ends are doing.
Asiata is pre-Power 5, so he can't. This is a different category. You could have Joe Williams there.
I don't know what the tight ends are doing so far outside.
You can have Tavion Thomas there. You can't put them all in. It is a legal formation, a little flex bone.
I think you guys did kind of land on the right answer, which is there's a couple right answers. The one that is wrong is cutting Zach Moss.
Your all-time rushing leader and all-time rushing touchdowns leader.
You put like everything you want and everything you've had in a Utah running back and then make them eat and bench press and squat like all summer. That's Zach Moss. So like He starts.
Okay.
I think I'm benching Devontae and cutting Mr. White.
Okay.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. And listen, if we're saying
Wolfman, you got cut by Porter.
And I know he listens.
He does.
Zach does sometimes too. So I'm not placating. It's a tough three. You're leaving off Joe Williams and obviously Tavion and
that's right.
A bunch of other.
But you have to.
If you're going for OC's world, if you're going pound for pound, you might start Mr. White.
Well, we talked about that because when you talk about someone who overperformed the rest of that offense and someone who overperformed expectation and someone who overperformed physical size and all those things, I mean, the Wolfman was special.
And this was when essentially a Mountain West team was trying to be a Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. This was 2011.
It's 11 and 12. He had back-to-back 1,000-plus yard seasons.
Really hard.
Without a great quarterback, but there were no, like, mega productive. There's no Dalton Kincaid on that roster. There's not offensive weapons all over the place. It was tough.
Devontae, obviously, he's made an NFL career. He's a clear commodity, right? You know what he brings. He also had probably the best offensive line situation out of those three. I mean, there was one of his offensive lines, I think all five of them went to the NFL. If you go back to 2016, 2015, Isaac, all the others, all played in the NFL. Now that doesn't mean Devontae Booker's not phenomenal. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He does all of the things you want a running back to do. But I also watched him, much like Joe Williams. I also watched him run through holes that I could have drove my Chevy through. So I don't know.
Right.
And Zach Moss, man, 4 years, 4,000 yards, school record. I just don't think there's much of an argument there. I think that you guys landed on the right one. I'm gonna have to go Moss, Booker, White if you force me to. All
right, I'm gonna see which one of those guys, because if we really want to play out the game, you're doing start, bench, cut. Those are single season decisions. So if we're preparing ourselves for an all-time greats Utah
so I can redshirt one of these guys.
Season. You might be looking at like, okay, well, who had the best year? And then you have to put Tavion Thomas in the conversation because I'm trying to look up of these guys who had the best single season performance. And,
it might be Tavion Thomas.
I take it on a career. Of the three that I've put on if you want to take it career-wise, I think you do have to start Zach Moss.
Yeah.
Right? If you're taking who had the best single season, John White had the best single season. So there's just, again, no right answer, no wrong answer. Start one, bench one, cut one. The game sweeping the nation, or at least a small portion of Salt Lake City. Start, bench, cut. And Porter has cut Otter Pops, and he has cut John White IV. So John White IV somewhere, the Wolfman is eating an Otter Pop and just weeping because of your lack of support.
As James mentioned earlier, I'm just raining on your parade. Not a big firework guy either. So your yesterday's poll, I could go without.
By the way, all of those fireworks that I pulled on yesterday are almost impossible to start a wildfire.
If you start a wildfire with a poppet thing, then
you're doing it on purpose.
Good, I'm impressed. Let's be clear, we do need wildfires, just in certain phases.
Sure.
Not in certain areas.
We just want them to be started by lightning instead of by fireworks.
There you go. And the good part about when fires are started by lightning is there's usually moisture in the air. That's part of the natural process.
Yes.
We love to fire off fireworks in the dead of summer when there's just kindling everywhere. So just be careful. Listen, I'm pro do whatever the hell you want. Light off your fireworks all about it. And as long as you do it safely, we're all good.
That's the official stance of ESPN 700. Stay tuned for The Drive with Porter Larson filling in for Spence Checketts. Thanks to everyone who listened. Enjoy, please, in all seriousness, everyone have a safe and sober, or if you're not sober, find a designated driver weekend. Please stay off the roads. Please don't start any fires. and let's all have fun together next week on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.